It goes live for this, but we'll redo this. Welcome and thank you so much for doing this, man. It's the first YouTube, so we had some hiccups, but now we can finally get rolling, brother.
Yeah, no, there's no problem. It's my pleasure. And so I know it's the first time, so shit happens. So yeah, good to go now.
You're a technology guy, so you know that the code doesn't run perfectly from the first time. You always got to go back and find that little thing that you forgot to do, and then everything goes smoothly. So I'm happy. Right now, I feel like we got it set up well.
No, actually, usually everything runs smoothly until the point that needs to run smoothly. Then it breaks, and then you have to start over again.
Man, I swear to God, you said it perfectly. Today, because I'm streaming from my family home, I moved from my studio. All day, I'm setting up the lights, I'm setting up the camera, making sure it's perfect to interview. I run the test, it works good. Like you said, as soon as I hit live, boop. But it's all good. Now we're fine, and now we're good to go for the rest of the podcast.
Okay, cool.
So how have you been, brother? How's everything?
Yeah, everything is perfect. Like doing this coronavirus, so we are totally out of our routine, right? So, but everything's all right. My family's all right. So, missing jiu-jitsu, missing training, missing the mats, like. But
man, tell me about it, bro. Right, so. It's difficult. I mean, the thing is, I was talking about with a few guests before. This is the first time where you don't know when you're going back. Like if you get an injury, 3 to 6 months. If there's something wrong with the gym, like a insect infestation, you know how long it'll take. But now you just don't know when you're going back to the mats, man.
Yeah, that's bad, right? So, but there's nothing else you can do. Like you don't need to be worried about because you cannot control. So as long as you cannot control, so don't need to be worried,
Exactly. So you're not worried.
That's my thought, like because no, I can't actually. So of course we feel like a little bit worried about everything's happening, but if you focus too much in things that you cannot control, so it's really hard. Like you can't control. So why is the point to keep focus on the things we cannot control? So I try to as much as I can to avoid, but of course, eventually come back like, yeah, man, when it's gonna finish? Of course I wonder every time, but
absolutely,
suddenly I say like, okay, I cannot do anything from that. Like if I could, I would do, but I can't. So let's move on. Let's wait this thing finish.
Man, I know exactly what you mean. It's like this saying, a lot of people, they go through stress and then they ask them, can you do anything about it? They say no. So then there's no point of being stressed. You just wait until it handles itself. Right?
Yeah, that's exactly because But I before I had different approach. Like I was always worried about something I can't control, but suddenly I say like I can't control. So if I could, like if there's, I always ask myself, is there something that I can do to change the situation? So if I can, if there's something, so I go there and try to do it. Even though like eventually it doesn't work, but I tried something else. But at least I have something to try. So now the thing I have to try is like, okay, what can I do during this coronavirus to help the community, to help the environment, to help my company? So that's I'm trying to do, like as best as I can. Eventually, it's like not enough for the past. Like if you compare it what we have done so far, like it's not the same pace. But it's the best we can do.
So, we're all adjusting, but man, you know, this is something I really like about you, and the reason I was so excited for today. The way you think is very different than most people. You're a very analytical guy, and you break things down and you rebuild them. And believe, we only trained once together. We rolled once together, and then we talked a little bit afterwards, a little bit outside, and I'm like, man, this guy is one of the most complex guys I've met in jiu-jitsu from just that one time. Because you weren't like, you weren't pohada, put pressure, do this position and stuff. It's cool, it's nice to have that, but you were the guy that broke it down, like why I screwed up, why you passed my guard, why my grip was incorrect, and I can't wait to get into this with you. You even, like the way you talk about coronavirus, you're breaking it down like jiu-jitsu.
I think it's come a little bit about the analytics part of being a programmer. Like nowadays, I'm not programming straight away, like all day, something like that. Right. But you have to be analytic. Like you have to break the big chunk and small chunks that you try to manage.
I like that.
And also, I think it's not different from jiu-jitsu as well. Like you cannot pass the guard, for example. And I can try to pass a guard, but I won't pass it once. I have to break your grip, and then I have to get a dominant position, and then I move it forward, and eventually I'll pass.
Right.
So, but if you understand the whole concept, like it's easier because, like, if you make a grip that I know this grip is gonna cause me trouble down the road, so I have to prevent the grip first. So once I prevent the grip first, now I am step ahead, and then I'm trying to do like step by step.
I see
like,
it. So that the code can
not
run.
Easy. Like it's not. Yeah, it's not easy, but yeah, you have to break it like in pieces. So even all system, everything. Like for example, you have to set your studio now.
Right.
So we didn't set all at once. We will set like maybe the curtains, and we had to set the tables, and you have to set step by step.
Absolutely.
And in the end, like everything's set. Like it's
everything's set.
the same. The way I try to think, right? That
like
pretty much looks like set.
I like it, man. That's absolutely the thing I love about how you're thinking and breaking it down. And it's why I think programming complements your jiu-jitsu, because like I want to pace myself, because we'll get into the programming side of your experience and how that mixes with the jiu-jitsu. But the way you're talking, and I'm sure everybody listening right now, they feel it. There's a different feeling about your explanation of jiu-jitsu, and I think we're going to get some gold out of this. But I want to tell you, I feel like programmers and coders are one of the most prepared people for quarantine, because you've been in quarantine most of your life.
Yeah, actually, like for me, it doesn't matter what the place I am.
Right.
I'm everything I need to work. Like I'm still working, by the way. I'm creating my routine like from 8 to 5 at least. So I wake up in the morning, and then I have my free time to study, and then I sit down on my desk and then start to work, because I need just the laptop and my knowledge, and I'm trying to break. Of course, it's not the same, because I have my daughter coming in, and then she starts to she needs a little bit of attention, so she tries to cry, come to my lap, and but most of the time I can try manage, like the same way I can have like my job done. Like I can break it down, and then I have like small piece parts of my day, and then I break this down, and then I have my tasks done. Nice. So and it could be like in the pool, it could be in the office, it could be here at home. Like that's, I like that. That's the thing. Like programmers, and even you, like you can, like you are from home, like creating nice interviews, and so you have the equipment. So doesn't matter where you are, like we have this beauty of the internet, so they can connect each other. So we are far away. I don't know exactly your place. You do not know exactly my place, but it doesn't matter, because we make it work. We have the technology that can make it works for us.
It's really interesting, because before this whole coronavirus pandemic happened and everybody went into quarantine, there was jobs and careers that were better suited going into this than others. And those are the guys that kind of flourished, and they didn't really have to adapt too much. But then you have a lot of the jobs that had to adapt quickly. And I feel like this time we're going through technologically is super interesting, because it's accelerating the rate at which people have to adjust. And I have a feeling they're going to uncover underutilized aspects of their business because of this coronavirus pandemic. Like, look at gyms. In a gym, I can only have so many members fit in my gym today. But now, and I can have 10,000 people online. Why not? I can have online-only members after this pandemic's over. Maybe they don't want to make the full commitment to come to the gym. Maybe they can't make it today, but at least they can half make it by attending the online class. I would keep online classes in every single gym out there. Do you agree?
Yeah, I agree. Actually, I see technology as a tool, always as a tool. So it has a purpose, and depends of its purpose, we can use it. Let's say, of course, we have the online classes, and online classes really helpful to get into the technology, to the technique, like to be close to a friend. But it's not the same. Like for jiu-jitsu, you need to practice, you need to sparring, like to get to a different level. Of course, if I'm a white belt, I'm learning the basic techniques like double leg takedown in the basic level. So it's okay. I just need to hug the leg and push the guy forward, and that's all right. But when it comes to the reality, we need the reaction, like if I'm grabbing, someone else is going to also do the sprawl. And then, but if I'm not training, I don't know what's the sprawl, the pressure of the sprawl. I just believe like I'm going to hug the legs, and then the guy going to fall.
And the timing.
But the point is, we have the technology to complement our training. Like as you said, like I could now watch an online seminar. Of course, I could not like sparring with someone else, or even dummy. But at least I can watch and I can learn. I can learn, and maybe I need to practice. I need maybe to record, practice, repeat 2, 3 times, 4 times, 10 times, 12, 20 times. It doesn't matter how many times do I need to repeat, but I can get in touch. Jiu-jitsu nowadays, it's not just, actually it always was like that, but the way we learn jiu-jitsu, we have to study. Like we do not come from the white to the black belt in this between, like all the way through, you are learning, like it's always like you are passing the grades, and the grades for jiu-jitsu are belts, and the belts come to the knowledge, not for the belt, because I can give you my black belt,
exactly,
but I cannot share with you at once my knowledge.
not at all. Yeah.
And all those tools like online classes, so we are sharing knowledge. So if you have online class, so it's a way to learn, like
right.
you can, I believe that you can benefit of the online classes.
Okay, good. That makes me feel a little bit better, because like that's the mentality John Danaher was talking about. It. If your body has to be off the mat, then don't take your mind off the mat at the same time, right? Whether it's watching competition fights, whether it's watching seminars online, you have to stay engaged so that your brain is thinking jiu-jitsu. But if you take like a 3-month break and you don't think jiu-jitsu at all, you're in trouble.
Yes, but like I have, like back then, like there in the Aprenda Jiu-Jitsu, when I built the website, I watched so many videos, and then once I come back to the training, I realized that I mastered some techniques, and without even training, like I even trained those techniques, but I knew how to do it. But why is that? Like, it's not because it's the magic, because eventually you are just to connect. Let's say like collar choke, like cross choke, you know this. So, and then I just switch the grip. And now you connect the first technique, connect to another technique you already know, like just switch the grip. So you can, even without training, you can understand. Or let's say you have the choke, you have the grip. Right. So, and then you saw on the YouTube channel, like the lasso choke, and then I just put the hand. Oh, never trained, but you know the concept that you just need to make a lasso on the
feeling
person's hand. So, and then like, okay, that's the movement. And then you try, and then it's like, okay, but if you do not know, like, let's say I wait like quarantine time, I didn't watch any video, so I wasn't exposed to a new techniques, let's say the lasso or the loop. And I do not know. So during the sparring session, I have no idea how to do it.
Exactly.
But if I watch some videos, so at least I have an idea how to do it. So I'll be able to at least try. And let's say I'm gonna call you, say, let's try to do a nice loop choke that I learned. It doesn't work, and then say like, okay, and then eventually someone comes to you and say like, okay, it's not like that, it's this, okay, but at least you know what you are looking for.
Absolutely.
Like, at least you know that it exists. That's the point.
Absolutely. I totally relate and understand what you're saying, because I think that's the fine line. And I was talking to so many people about it. We keep hitting this conversation when we talk about this in jiu-jitsu. It's the thin line between the effective jiu-jitsu and the business of jiu-jitsu. Because when you talk about effective jiu-jitsu, it's exactly what you said. If you gotta learn it, you gotta learn the muscle memory, the timing, when's the opportunity there, when it's not. But if you want to create a business, there's part of this feeling. And the feeling is to stay connected, and the hunger of people to want to learn more. Because the business of jiu-jitsu is to make people feel like they're constantly learning, when they're not necessarily a competitor. And that's where I feel like the online space, like look at BJJ Fanatics, there's a reason it's doing so well, and instructors are all dropping what they're doing almost just to make one program. It's because there's so many people out there that want to get the edge on jiu-jitsu by, for example, watching John Danaher's latest leg locks techniques and then coming to compete. Definitely. So, but like you said, if you don't apply it on the mats, it's not gonna be as effective as it could be.
Yeah, but up to a certain point,
right,
it's effective. But somehow you have to practice.
Yes.
Somehow you have to practice. We cannot. What I mean is, like, we cannot just exchange. Like, okay, now you are training everything online. Of course, you can. You can, and you improve. For sure, you improve. Yeah. You learn. You have maybe some sparring session at home, your friend or someone else to practice with you. But to reach a different level, so we need to have a different environment.
I get you.
So I can't tell you, like, from the online program, let's say just online program, the guy will be world champion. So I don't believe that to be possible, but I believe the world champion can benefit with the online platform, because I am home, so I'm watching new techniques. So I learned, actually, I have many techniques that I learned online. Like, you have one I remember is barata plata. Barato plata. It means like it's half a barata, and he's really tough guy. He had like a different omoplata on his way. I have never heard, and then I bumped him on the YouTube channel and one YouTube video, and then I watched several times 3 ways to do this technique, and I watched several times. So what I did, like, I record for my phone, and then I went to the gym, and then I started to practice, and it is a really effective technique, like, and I benefit from the online platform, from the, somehow online.
Of course.
I was exposed to this technology, and then I brought it to the mat.
You know, I think
so. That's the thing. They have to connect.
Exactly, because I think there's a little advantage a person can have from new information, because I remember like there's a certain point where the competitions were the showcase of the athletes' new technology. Before there was a lot of seminars, or let's say online seminars where it was rapid. People would wait for the world pros or the IBJJFs and whatever to see the top athletes and what they're bringing new. And then and the people that watch the matches carefully, they see that new technique, they apply it to their game, and then in their local competitions, nobody's seen it before, and they end up winning. Like, it's part of that secret sauce. But you're right, you have to have some close group of friends, test the technique out, refine it, and then reveal it in the competition. I like that kind of feeling to the jiu-jitsu community.
Yeah, and also like nowadays we are in a different level of jiu-jitsu, because
I think so.
Once I started jiu-jitsu, like on my time, let's say like as an old guy, like when I started jiu-jitsu, like my 14 years old, we had this, like we had to go to the competition, see what comes, because what we knew was our academy game. So my partner, my teammates knows how to train. So I was preparing to the competitions based only and exclusively what my professor taught me and what my teammates knows how to do this. Like we train and then we prepare. We are prepared for this kind of game.
Right.
So nowadays we can go to BJJ Fanatics, so can go to AOJO, any platform online,
exactly.
And you can go there and watch what someone else is doing in their academy. You know, like, oh, I want to learn berimbolo. Maybe my academy nobody does berimbolo, but I go there in Miaus and start to watch Miaus video. I watch like Rafael Mendes, and I watch Cobrinha, and I watch many positions that
variations,
take berimbolo and explain the berimbolo itself, and then I come to apply it to my game. So it wasn't possible before, because like before it was just magazines, and it was like just photography, like once a month we would be exposed, like to one technique. Exactly. And now if you have like half guard, so you can go to YouTube channel and then like see as many half guard as you want, and then I think the challenge now is different. By the way, I think the challenge now is try to get, like, we have so many information out there. So how can you focus on the things that matters to you?
Such an important point.
Because I don't know if you feel like that. Like I eventually feel so overwhelmed because I have so many information, and all of them are cool.
Yeah,
all of them are really nice. It's like, oh, this is nice, but it's not. But eventually, this is not nice for me. Like for my game. But it's so nice, so well recorded, and so well like produced that you say like, okay, you stay there like watching and watching and watching.
Exactly.
And that's, I think, the new challenge.
I like what you said about the getting lost information, because sometimes too much information will lose you just as much as too little information. It's like the whole age-old argument between specialization or generalization. If you watch 100 techniques in one day, then maybe you will retain maybe one or two of them, right? But if you watch one technique all day, then you're going to retain that one technique really well. You know what I mean? So I think that's the secret sauce for people learning jiu-jitsu online. But you reminded me of a really funny story. So when I first started jiu-jitsu white belt fresh, this is around 2012, I was so excited, and I went with my wife to Dubai. And in Dubai Mall, they have this big bookstore, Kinokuniya, the Japanese one. I used to love that place. I went and I found Saulo Ribeiro's University of Jiu-Jitsu book. I don't know if you've ever seen that book, but it's a very nice university-style education book. So I opened the book, and you see the techniques, and there's picture 1, picture 2, picture 3. For me, I'm like, what the fuck happened between 1 and 2? Why is the guy on the floor? I can only imagine back then, like just having pictures. It's useless almost. You have to have a professor to break it down for you, because it makes no sense. Why is he on the floor now?
Yeah, actually, because that depends. Let's say even berimbolo, like if you see berimbolo doing, like if you're not familiar with berimbolo positions,
sure.
So the guy starts to spinning around, and then it's like, what? Because it depends also of your level. Because
that's a perfect
if
example.
I take a white belt and try to teach them berimbolo is not difficult. Berimbolo is not difficult, but maybe the white belt doesn't have the body consciousness, like to spin and to have the movement, to know when have to stop. No, they need to build the foundation. Then he goes to the next level, and then brick by brick he goes to building his game. Exactly. But that was the way you learn. Like in the book, also was a lot, man. This book was very expensive, and like nobody would buy. Like not it wasn't for all
right.
jiu-jitsu community, because, you know, imagine like to print the book, it's so expensive. So we have the cover, so we have the copyright, so we have many things. And but that's the way. Like before was Grace Mag, and then some like books of jiu-jitsu books like that, just to explain techniques and go to the tournament. So, and it's the retain of the techniques, it would be like just to watching the fight, because even the camera, it was not common that time.
And it was really shit quality.
The fight, because yeah, but even to record the fight and then after that, like you go to watch. So some people had, but it was not so common.
Absolutely.
You know, like it basically, it was just like your environment that build your game. So once internet come, so this bubble explode, and now everyone can extract a little bit for someone else, you know, like I can watch. So we have to grappling, so I can watch many fights. I can even tag. Like usually I open the tabs and say like, okay, who's gonna fight? Or I open the schedule, I start to get notes, who's gonna fight in which match, and I'm trying to get the schedule and keep popping like from one side to another side to watch the match.
Wow,
and it wasn't possible, right? So, and then it's like, oh, this guy, I like this style, I like the way he fights, so I want to follow him all over the competition. So, and then it's easier now, but before it was like, okay, yeah, I have to move you around like inside.
You have to be very resourceful.
But yeah, but it's different, and nowadays you need to deal with this, you know, like it's like a gift, you know, like it's much easier. That's why jiu-jitsu is much more complex nowadays than before,
right?
Because you can learn better, you know, like you can evolve from the past. Like you can have like the half guard, and then from the half guard you can build a different game. But if you do not know half guard, how can you go to the next level, you know?
That's the thing. I had this issue all the way up until recently. Man, I'm going crazy because I feel like my jiu-jitsu started taking off like really well, and then the corona hit because I got on a flow. I started focusing. Guard, I'm not going to do anything else. And then in guard, I'm only going to do this for 2 weeks, 3 weeks until I feel confident. Then I move to the next thing. And I started getting that rhythm because, like you're saying, online, I can go find any technique right now, but I can't keep jumping back and forth. So what I did in the last while, when we started rolling, I was in lapel guard mode. I have Keenan Cornelius Encyclopedia, Lapel Encyclopedia, and all of his lasso guard videos. I watch them. I watch one video. I replay it 2-3 times, and I come to train with you guys. And I try to apply it. And each one of you tells me where I fucked up, right? And then I try to, you know, learn from what you guys tell me.
But that's the way you learn, actually. Because let's say, eventually you didn't do anything wrong, or you did something wrong. But once you are drilling, so you are just training your body and no reaction of little reaction against you.
Exactly.
But once you're training, so you have action and reaction.
Exactly.
So it's quite normal once you try to do like one movement and someone else knows your movement, he's one step ahead.
Yes.
So I know maybe you need to switch your grip, and I know you need to switch this grip. So what are you going to do? I want to prevent you to switch the grip. So it's that we start to become, and that's the beauty of jiu-jitsu, because based on that, now it's time to get like, what's the next step? Because you collect the first technique, and it might work with many of your training sessions.
Yes.
But eventually it doesn't work. And then you need to think in something else. Like you do the first action, first attack, someone else apply the defense. We need to be able to, okay, if someone else do like what defense, doesn't matter, the counter or the defense itself, we need to react on top of the next step. So you do one step, the guy do one step, you expect that, because eventually you start to expect the reaction.
Who's how many steps ahead?
Yeah, I like butterfly guard, and I can predict some most of the attacks, like both of the counters.
Right.
Nowadays, I can see what's coming, but eventually the guy don't do any of the one I am expecting, and cause me trouble then, because it's really hard, and then I need to figure out how to do it. But usually, once you play your game, you get like one game, and then you got defend, and then you learn. Okay, that's the grip. Okay, that's the way to defend. Okay, now I need to focus, because I didn't know, because if I my grip, hold my grip, I could make my proper grip. Right. So we're going to be more conscious about that. Like you don't want to give your grip so easily for them, for their opponent, you know. And then you create like brick by brick. You start to build your game. One position, then you apply as in the beginning, like it doesn't work. After that, you start to master that technique, and it starts to work. And suddenly they stop work, because the people also start to understand your game.
Yes.
And then they start to prevent your technique to work.
And
then you have to move to something else. But you cannot like just, okay, I'm doing lasso guard, and then now I'm doing Americana.
Oh yeah.
Oh, there's no connection here.
How are you gonna build the experience?
You have to build like, okay, that's the reaction. So you create the momentum. So we do something else, because we are always giving and I'm attacking you, you are attacking me. I'm exposing myself.
Right.
Marcelo Garcia said something that's interesting. People before, like everyone was like playing half guard. So they passing the guard. So they go to the half guard and place the back of your opponent in the mat.
Yeah.
And Marcelo Garcia said, once I'm doing this, I'm preventing my opponent to expose his back, because I'm flattening his back on the mat. So he's not exposing his back anymore. So, and then he starts to like, okay, let the guy move on top of me. And then he starts to go to the back, because once you sit down, so you expose the back as well, because now you have a different approach. So then start to create a different game. It means it works. Just half guard doesn't work anymore. No, it works, but it's just a different approach, you know. And then you start to develop. Okay, this works for me. This doesn't work for me. And then you start to adjust for your game.
Sometimes if you attack too hard, your opponent shells up too strong, and you end up leaving yourself no room to attack further. Sometimes you have to give them an opening, like you're saying. Let them expose their back by sitting up, so you can take the back, go deeper into your attack. I like that, man. This is the beautiful part of jiu-jitsu, is as you train longer, you start realizing that it's the same techniques, it's the same positions. It's just how long and how much time you're putting on the mat to build up this archives, this library you have in your body of, oh no, this is familiar. Like I call them sensors. Like I have a home security system on my body now, and it's not the latest version. You have a later version than mine. My version rings when the thief is close to my home. Not at my home, close to my home. Yours rings when he arrives in the airport. You know, that's how I like to think about it, because you've gone through so much jiu-jitsu that you know what he's planning. And man, what's amazing to me is when you are talking about my lapel guard, and you were mentioning the grip situation. You remember what I did to you. You're a black belt that rolls with so many people. I rolled with you maybe a month and a half ago, and you remember exactly what you did to me, and you're repeating to me the lesson you gave me. You didn't even forget it. That's crazy to me. Because
actually it's the way I defend, you know, like, and then I remember because of the game, and then I remember because I usually do the same technique over and over again.
But that's amazing, because man, what you did to me, I rolled with a lot of black belts, and obviously I don't get very far with any of them. But I feel like with them, I can be a little bit scrambly, right? I can surprise them. You say like something I haven't seen before, you have a little bit of trouble. So what I try to do, I compensate for my lack of experience by surprising, by doing weird things to get to the technique. Not too spazzy, hopefully, but with you, I couldn't do shit. Like you blocked it from the beginning. You cut the bleeding immediately. You know what I mean? Like it just, the way you held and lifted my back from the floor, and I lost all leverage. I couldn't do anything. It was beautiful.
Yeah, that's because I feel the same. Like once I'm trying to do some with someone else, so eventually they defend this way. You know, like I feel how uncomfortable this position is, and then I said, oh, if it's uncomfortable for me when I'm playing this guard, so when I'm passing, I will do the same.
I should do it. Yeah,
you know, like, yeah. So like, if you feel like okay, it's bad when. It's also a tip for you, like if you, actually for anyone who's listening now, if you're playing, let's say I'm playing guard, I'm playing butterfly guard, and someone else my opponent start to do a movement that put me in bad situation. Right. So when I'm opposite situation, probably when I'm on top, not playing guard anymore, so I can try at least to understand how that technique works, because I can apply, because I felt like the bad situation. And of course, if other players would be the same if I apply the proper technique, you know. But it depends, like the way like I defend the technique, the guard. So we have many different approaches, and eventually it doesn't work. You know, it's like I try to do, and then I try to do something else as well, because it's the beauty of jiu-jitsu is not because now I defend it this way, and I explain to you how I did. Right. So what's the beauty of this? So in the next time, like you are going to at least improve that position. So for me, eventually it won't work anymore. It will no longer work for me. The same technique that I used to you, with you, and I have to improve.
It's not static.
Like, that's why I like to explain what I did. Like as long as I have the opportunity, like if you have this, you can say resenha after the training, I like to explain and to learn, you know, like, and I like to ask, like, what did you do, man? It was really hard for me to escape to this situation, to understand, and as long as I teach you how to defend the way I attacked you,
yes.
So it forces you to learn. And at least, okay, if I'm passing this way, you know I'm passing this way. So now you block. Okay, now I have to do something else. As long as I have to do something else, I am improving. I have to change.
You also
my game.
have more opportunity.
Yes. Yeah, as well. But I mean, I once you learn, like once I apply technique and explain to you, next time you will try to block, and eventually you successfully you block. So I have to do something else. So I have also to start to put one more break on my game.
Yes.
You know, and then like that's it. But if you like, let's say I know I did, if you didn't understand what I did, and then I didn't explain to you how I did. So next time I will do it again.
Just repeat.
And then other time I will do over and over and over again.
Like that.
So what's the benefit?
I like
so
that.
I'm not learning nothing, you know, like because I like I master your game, and then now I can prevent you to do your game.
Yes.
But I'm always doing the same technique. I'm not doing something else.
Man, I love what you're saying.
It's also good for me.
This says a lot about you. Another reason why I like you is because your ego is totally off the mats. You know, they always say, leave your ego off the mats. But nobody fully leaves it off the mats. Okay. I feel like you fully leave it off the mat. You leave it in the car. No, bro. But from what you're saying, come on, man. From what you're saying, you leave it in the car, because what you're doing is helping others in order to help yourself. I like that mindset. Like at the same time, when you help people to get better in jiu-jitsu on the mats with you, they help you to get better. But then you have some people that feel good winning, so they prefer not to help them. They prefer to keep winning. But in the end, you'll end up with worse jiu-jitsu because you're not being challenged. And jiu-jitsu, you get better when you're challenged. When you go for the tough guys, the guys that crush your game, that's when you get better.
Yeah, of course. Like I won't say like, okay, that's my game for everybody. But of course, if all the black belts are just gonna have a look at my game and they will figure out anyway.
Of course.
But what I mean is, if I'm trying to explain the game, and if I'm trying as hard as I can to get, let's say, I learned it from beginning. Like I was like blue belts, and then I trained with the guy like lower belt, and we were training really hard. And then this guy came into the line, and then I make it easy for him. And then the old professor, like the two belt, they come to me and say, like, I want to talk to you. And then I said, okay. In that time, like the black belt want to talk to me, so I did something wrong, man.
Yeah.
I am in really trouble. And then he said, I really like what you did, because we didn't go so hard on him, because he's not training for you today, like the lower belt guy. And then he said, like, it's not for you today, but he'll be. Because as long as you prepare him to getting better and better and better, so he's going to be a training for you. And then you benefit from the training. So it doesn't matter, take a kid like 15 years old or 14 years old and then smashing him. Of course, nowadays we have 14, 15 kids.
Oh,
they are crazy.
They'll smash you right back.
They won't be afraid like to fight like, always against a black belt, like the same level. They try, of course, the gap. You know?
The experience,
but they come like as hard as the same. But what I mean is, like, as long as you also give it to someone else this knowledge, so you share the knowledge. The knowledge is something beautiful, because if I share my knowledge, I'm not losing anything. I'm just sharing my knowledge with you, so you get there. I don't lose it, so I still have it. I still have this on me. So, and then you get better, and then you're gonna be better training partner. You're gonna make me training me harder, because you're gonna give me less opportunities. So yeah, that's a kind of mindset and knowledge.
That's what another thing about you, like you were saying, with the new jiu-jitsu and online, everybody gets to learn everything. Back then, there was a style to every gym, to every club, to every state in Brazil, let's say. And you come from a very interesting background as well. Like, your style is clear on the mats. You come from a very refined lineage of jiu-jitsu, and you have a very fine-tuned jiu-jitsu to you. So can we talk a little bit about where you grew up and like where you started training jiu-jitsu?
Yeah, I started training like back in 1994, I guess. Like I was teenager, and it was interesting the way I started jiu-jitsu.
Okay.
I didn't start that jiu-jitsu. I started from capoeira, because the first time I watched the jiu-jitsu class, I said, no, it's not for me. It's like man hugging man. No, it's
wearing pajamas.
And then I ended up training. Yeah, I ended up training capoeira, and it was cool because it gave me a lot of flexibility and knowledge of my balance. Balance. Like later on, I would benefit to training jiu-jitsu.
Okay.
Both of them, like the strength, the flexibility, and also the balance.
Right.
But the first time, like it was. I was kid, not even teenager, but I was teenager when I first saw, like, I was with a friend in the bus station, and then there's a guy who passed cycling, huge, a monster. I stopped, and then this guy said hi to my friend.
Right.
I said, man, who is this guy? I was like impressed, like, who's this guy? And then he said, like, he's my professor. Which professor? My jiu-jitsu professor. And that was the first time I ever seen Master Bita in my entire life. So after that, like, after like 2 weeks later, my friend invited me to go there and watch some jiu-jitsu classes. I saw the environment of Pitbull. And then I said, like, I want this, I want a training. And I started to train jiu-jitsu at Pitbull. So I'm still there, like, forever.
Wow.
And it's my own gym. Like, I always train there. And Bita is my master from the white belt to now. And I started playing guard because of the style of the gym. Because imagine Bita and all of, like, Bita, all guys were about the same. Like, they were always strong, smashing.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Yeah.
Playing on top.
Yeah.
Right? So I was skinny and I had no option. And then I have to try to push them, like, to force them to play guard. But I have no power to push them back. So I always end up, like, playing guard. And then I say, like, you know what? I want to stop pushing them. I want to pull right away and then see how it goes. And then I start to play guard. And after that, I start to play on top. Like, but before I was, like, just playing guard, like, up to blue belt, I'd like to play guard and play guard because of the style. Yeah. So we have this huge guy, like, smashing all the time. And then we are playing guard. I like, in the beginning, was like the survival mode.
Yeah, of course.
I need just to survive.
Bita Jim, Rodrigo, Shimbika, like, everybody's smashing.
Back then, like, I started as a kid. We had Monteiro. Monteiro was training over there. Like, you have many guys that here we have a lot of players, but we had, like, many guys. And I think, like Shimbika said, like, we have many other guys that we never. I think the world will never know them.
Right.
But they were pretty good jiu-jitsu players. Like, there was a guy like Fagner Laviola. So back then, like, it was really hard to pass my guard, and flexible and, like, full of energy. I gave my life to not let someone pass my guard.
Nice.
And this guy always passed my guard, man. Always, like, it's always. I mean, there was, like, huge guys, they do not pass, but he always passed. And I said, like, okay, I start on top. He always swept me, and he's like, fuck, man, how can you do that? And it wasn't just on me.
Right.
Everyone. And he stopped, and now I think, I don't know, last time I heard from him, he was selling shoes in the store, you know, like, but he had a huge talent. Yeah. He went up to black belt, purple belt, and then he stopped, you know. But we have many cases like that, you know. Like,
he stopped jiu-jitsu after purple belt?
He stopped.
Oh my God.
He got his purple belt and then he stopped.
That's crazy.
Yeah, he said, I know, like, I don't want to train jiu-jitsu anymore, so I'm trying to do something else. I have to work. I'm getting tired, you know, like, and then he stopped. But we had, like, a huge, nice level. And the beauty and the nice thing in that jiu-jitsu environment, the academy environment, so you have a flag. So we want to kill each other during the training. But once you finish,
you're a team.
Okay, we hug each other. Okay, you're a friend. You know, like, it's just a training. Yes. I do my best. I let everything on the mat. After that, you just, okay, let's go. Let's drink acai.
I love it.
Acai, and then let's have fun. You know?
Oh my God, man. Can you imagine going into a shoe shop and that killer is recommending a shoe for you and you say, no, I don't like this. You'll get your ass kicked.
Yeah, but you know, like, you would never say, say that he was a jiu-jitsu player, you know, and then say, like, okay, it's because also that's the thing of jiu-jitsu. How can you say Mikey Mutumachi is a beast? He is. So you look at him and say, like,
oh my God, yes.
What is guy, man?
Exactly.
Or Paulo Miao, you know, like, you look at them and say, like, no, that
you would not expect that.
They don't look like them, like, not at all, like, not at all.
That's what I love about it.
Because of the technique.
Exactly. The technique. That's the thing. Like, when I first started jiu-jitsu, I was always, I did boxing for 8 years before that, and I was always into, like, striking martial arts. And then when I started jiu-jitsu, I got my ass kicked repeatedly by all kinds of body types. And people that I look at, usually I would look at me like, I can handle that guy. And then I do jiu-jitsu and I can't handle that guy. So after jiu-jitsu, I remember I'd be walking with my wife and I look at her, I'm like, baby, you realize everybody here could kill me. Like, I'm looking around like, I don't feel safe anymore. My whole mindset of martial arts and macho and tough guy disappeared. Anybody could be a dangerous black belt right now, and I don't know.
Yeah, and one thing, like, jiu-jitsu is impressive. For me, like, I played capoeira, and I didn't feel like as confident as I felt once I started training jiu-jitsu.
Sure.
I felt confident in self-defense, even though like we are playing jiu-jitsu at like sports game.
Yes.
But it's also self-defense. I was the people try to defend. We have self-defense techniques, but we have jiu-jitsu that say like, okay, it's just for the competition, but it's still self-defense. You can defend yourself on the street using the proper technique.
Absolutely.
And I remember we have my ankle. I have my ankle. Like we at home, like we always play like fights, like boys game, like play and fight. I always was skinny, like 56 kilograms. My ankle was really huge. And he always beat me. Like he always beat me there and say like, hold really strong.
Before jiu-jitsu.
I remember I was blue belt.
Okay.
No, it's even the jiu-jitsu.
Oh, shit. Okay.
Even it's like, let me try your jiu-jitsu. Let's see if it works. And then
I like it.
I couldn't escape, like, but it was like constantly. And I remember the day that this thing shifted. Like, he tried to hurt my hand and my head. I started to hug my head, and I tried to escape. I managed to put him down. I managed to go to the mouth. I controlled him, and then he looked at me and said, "Yeah, you're getting bigger." But everything was just about control. Like if you understand the control, that's like you can use the opponent force, like the strength against himself. But of course, you need to get the proper approach. It's really hard. Like Elio Grace said, like if you manage, like you are strong. But you do not know the technique, the weakest guy can manage. Even you can beat the weakest guy, but at least he can manage. He can try to make it equal. But if the strongest guy know the jiu-jitsu techniques or the technique properly, so you have no chance. Like that's as reality. But if you take anyone stronger than you, like bodybuilder, so you can manage them.
Yes.
In the real life, like if you do not know jiu-jitsu and if he doesn't know jiu-jitsu as well, like no one knows any sport martial art, so probably I will bet all my money on the bodybuilder.
Right.
So, but if he knows jiu-jitsu, like, okay, I will bet on the jiu-jitsu player because
he has a plan.
He knows how to manage. No, even if you know how to manage, like you put me down.
Yeah.
And if you put someone who doesn't know jiu-jitsu down or grappling sport, so he's gonna turn third position, and he's gonna end up like here in actual.
Yeah.
But if you know, like you can survive the pressure and then manage to escape, even if you manage to escape to run, right?
Exactly.
So, but you manage to escape, like you're not so afraid to be there on bottom, and you manage how to escape from that situation, the bad situation, because like you can use your leg to push him away, for example, to make a knee shield. So you make the knee shield, and then you can have like even spider guard to keep away. You put the legs on the hips to push away, and then you have time to do technical stand up.
Right.
So you have some ways to escape. But if you do not know, so you're gonna be excited to escape and try to escape in the wrong technique, the wrong way. So
that's the thing.
Jiu-jitsu for me.
I think you have an interesting background because you grew up training not with just a sport jiu-jitsu guy. Ursa Labita was a beast in everything. He used to fight in all of the old school MMA, bare fist, gloves, knees, shins, whatever you want, right?
Yeah, and that's so like, and you see the story becoming now is a story, but I was there with him, like looking at like Bita's going to Japan to Vale Tudo. So it's like we were seeing that happening, like all the changes of jiu-jitsu, because jiu-jitsu nowadays is a well-known sport,
right?
But there was like back then
underground.
I think I don't know if it was Rodrigo. Yeah, it was underground. Like I don't know if it was Rodrigo on the show or it was Alexandre that say like no one wants jiu-jitsu player because like they were to try to prove that jiu-jitsu works.
Yeah.
So many of us like fight in the street. Like if you want to look at you and want to fight, you want to fight because you want to prove that
they want to test you.
And I don't know. It happened, this kind of test. And this test make jiu-jitsu what it is today. If you didn't have this test, you didn't have the UFC, the Vale Tudo in that time. So nobody would know jiu-jitsu because they say like, okay, the same. Remember the first time I watched jiu-jitsu? I know two guys with pajamas hugging each other, so there's no efficiency there.
Sure.
But once you see on the street, someone's fighting the biggest guy, and then you beat the biggest guy, and it's like, what is this? And in that time, nobody knew jiu-jitsu. So the jiu-jitsu player was beating everyone in the bar, in the clubs, everywhere. So if you fight against jiu-jitsu player in Rio, so you have like in the news, the people say like jiu-jitsu fights, blah, 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 blah. And that was always bad news about this. But it's part of the story, like, and you saw this moving, and now it's like, okay, now is unacceptable. Like if you want to fight, like you say, like don't fight. You have to teach respect. You have to teach, because you're learning. Like you are a weapon. Like if you take a person that doesn't know anything, you can kill the person.
Yes, 100%.
Without giving him a punch, you know, like
100%.
And that's like you need to teach, like, okay, we have to respect the mat. So it's different now.
You know, it's interesting you say that, because there's a lot of perspective in jiu-jitsu that might have not existed when you started. Because when you started jiu-jitsu, this was during a time that it was very popular in Brazil, not almost anywhere else. Like, it was just starting in the US when you started jiu-jitsu in Brazil. But during that time, the people that did jiu-jitsu were usually the tough guys, the security guys, the bouncers, the military. Like, it wasn't like your average, it wasn't a karate commercial situation. It was very much still tough guy. It was gyms that were being tested. Vale Tudo guys were coming in to challenge you guys, vice versa. So the mindset was toughness, strength, and using technique over power. Today, because I feel like jiu-jitsu kind of became a bit commercialized and available to your everyday person, we are getting the benefits of the personality of jiu-jitsu. Back then, I feel like maybe the personality side didn't get a chance to shine because you were too busy proving jiu-jitsu and aggressive. Today, everybody knows jiu-jitsu is really good, so we get to enjoy also the benefit it gives you, because the ego. When you don't have to prove jiu-jitsu works, it actually helps with your ego, because you become comfortable in your skin. You become humble because you realize, man, so many guys kicked my ass that I thought they couldn't kick my ass. It's like, I like this saying is, when you meet somebody and they talk like shit to people and they're very rude to people, this is a person who's never got their ass kicked. This is a person who's never got smacked around, because when you get smacked around, when you get beat up in jiu-jitsu, you get humbled and you realize that I'm not the shit. I'm not the top of the food chain. I need to start listening and respecting others. And it makes you a better person. It makes you better at work, better at friends, marriage, everything.
I think, yeah, I agree with you. And I think it was like a period, like we have a kind of season.
Yeah.
Because in that time also, like, academy was almost rivals. So we not hate, but we almost hate each other because just because of the competitions, you know, like.
Right.
But nowadays you pass to this and it's like, you know what, like, we are going there, like, you see the people going to compete every single week, and probably they will face each other again.
Right.
And you know, like, they why not like shake hands and be friend, or at least have a friendly environment after that. And then, like, Lo and Buchecha, they always fight and they are friends, but they always fight. They always really fight like that.
Absolutely.
And I feel like the same, like, you have to be, nowadays we can say, like, okay, you go to jiu-jitsu and we create like this mindset and this environment around jiu-jitsu. Can make friends, you know, like, and you can kick your ass, but you can make friends. You can like go there and porrada, and then after that you sit down and start to talk and start to laughing, you know, like, and that's the beauty, like, because we relax after that. And for me also, like, maybe like a teenager, we need to prove it, and it wasn't just jiu-jitsu, maybe it was of the age as well.
Exactly.
So with 16, 17 years old, you want to be like, okay, I am the guy.
Yes.
You know, like, and but now it's like, I don't need this anymore. You know, like, I have my life settled, and then I have my wife, and I'm happy with this.
Yes.
And I would not need like to be proven like, okay, I'm the best, blah blah blah. You know, like, I think it's a bit of both of them. Like, the time of jiu-jitsu was like to need to prove.
Yes.
And also we were like a kind of kids proving ourselves. Like, okay, I need to test myself. I need to see if I can handle situations, you know. But after that, like I say, now you say, like, now in my lifestyle, say, like, I prefer rather than fight someone, like, have friends.
Yes.
You know, like, to have a nice chit chat and, like, talk, and that's it.
And that's the thing. That's what I love about jiu-jitsu today, is that it feels like more of that environment. And you were asking me before we started this podcast, you're like, what got you to start this podcast and this? And you also mentioned Hezenia, right? You mentioned as well talking after the training. And that's why I started this podcast, because for me, part of my love for jiu-jitsu is the people that I met. If I was to give it a percentage, I would say 50% is the people I met and 50% is the jiu-jitsu. Because, man, I have such cool people in my life right now. People I really, I miss, I enjoy talking to, and I've learned so much from. Nothing to do with jiu-jitsu, right? And the powerful time is after rolling, when you got all the endorphins running. You got all your frustration, all your anger out. You fucked up in your technique. You got a good technique. Tap, no tap. When it's done, and you sit on the mats and talk. That's the best time, man. There's no feeling like it. I hope to replicate it in this podcast, and that's what we do, and that's how we get to it.
Okay, cool. Because actually, it's also nice because we have here in the UAE, you have such a nice guy. So
yeah, man,
such a nice history and
absolutely.
the background. You're gonna have a look at back, like nobody knows Bita here properly. How Bita went through up to be the legend he is now. Like we have also many other guys that maybe they're not so famous, but even me, like I'm not famous at all, but we have a history that like can benefit for the whole community. Like, and we have a
100%
group of people that I watched like Omar Fadli. I love this guy, man. He is really,
yes,
he's a nice guy, really polite. So he respects the mat. He trains a lot. He loves jiu-jitsu.
yeah,
And every time he steps in the mat, I really support him. Like it's like I'm cheering for him because of the guy, you know, like. And this, you look at this, and he was shy. If you look into his past, like he was shy, and then he started to build his confidence through jiu-jitsu.
exactly.
And say it's part of our work. It doesn't matter who taught them. Like we always are teaching someone,
Yes,
and we are changing like a little bit our knowledge or a little bit our personnel to someone improve, and then we can make a magic in someone else's life.
100%.
And you don't need to be like an amazing, don't need to be world champion, but as long as, let's say, we are teaching one student that he's fat, and not because he's fat, there's no problem. He's fat, but it's bad for his health.
Yes.
And then he starts to train jiu-jitsu, and he starts to say, okay, I want to lose weight.
Yes.
So it's a word title, you know, like it's a word title. You want for that person, you are the world champion. And for someone else, maybe he's shy, maybe that doesn't have the confidence to talk even with the family. So when you can go there and start to get him like to improve this part of his life. But it's coming from Resenha, and like for sure you have many stories here from people that they taught some Emirati guys that they changed their lives. So it's nice to have all of them in the show. And to have here like a huge amount of people that would be nice.
That's it, man. Because in sports, there's a lot of benefit, but there is one bad about sports, and I will say it straight up. The team concept of sports is essential for sports to exist, because in order for them to be entertaining and for people to dream to become an athlete, they have to watch teams compete and somebody win over the other. But naturally, this causes a situation of us versus them. It creates a situation where I have to be against somebody to succeed. And you start having teams and clubs and gyms. And in time, you start creating different images of each other. So for example, you have team A and team B. Team A will look at team B all like one person. They will not say team B has Ahmad, Muhammad, Diego, Rodrigo. No, it's a team B. They're all team B guys. They're all blue guys. They all look at them the same, right? And then team B says the same for team A. But one competition happens, and then maybe after one fight, one guy from team A talks to one guy from team B. And then they go for acai together. Or maybe Hezenia after open mat. Now his name is Muhammad. Now his name is Rodrigo. And now it's not team A, team B. It's individuals. So when you do a podcast platform like this, Diego is no longer instructor, coach, black belt in UAE, intimidation. Now you get to a little bit understand. You don't have to break the ice yourself with Diego, but now you get some insight, and it makes you feel closer to the community. It makes everybody feel together. When they hear you had a problem, a guy was passing your guard, they have the same problem. Oh shit, this guy faces the same shit I do. You know, so it makes us feel closer. And that's what that's my intention from this. For me, I want to feel closer to the community, but I also feel the community wants to feel close. They just don't know how to yet. So this is one way maybe we can get closer.
Yeah, that's amazing. And I really enjoy I watch it. I didn't have time to watch all of the episodes, but I watched some of them. And I definitely I will watch all of them. But I watched some, and I really like it.
Thanks, man.
How it works, how Shibika's nickname happens. Look, I didn't know. I'm training
for a
long time since Brazil. And you have many situations. You eventually do not know my history, my background. How did I start? For me, even I almost quit jiu-jitsu. I didn't compete a lot, but I remember I lost my three first tournaments.
Ooh.
And
at what age were you?
It was it was 14. It was 3-month training. I lost my first competition. Then I fought again. But all of them, it was bracket of 3. I got medal in all of them. That's as my first blue belt, I had my friend was moving to another city, and it was my first competition. And I said if I lost, If I lose it again, I won't never compete in my life.
Wow.
And then but actually, like I didn't compete a lot because I didn't have much money to pay the registration itself. But I like to compete once in a while. And then I had this guy said, okay, I'm leaving tomorrow morning, so we're gonna have a kind of party and join us. And said, but no, tomorrow I have to compete. It's like, man, eventually you no longer you see each other again. Like, so come to say goodbye. I said, okay, I will. And then I went there, and we had a party. And then the next day, my friends start to go at my house, like knock the door, and it's like, okay, we have to come to competition. So we start to call the blue belts. And then I run, and I forgot my kimono. And then I forgot my kimono. I went there, like I said, man, I went to compete. And then I said, I have no kimono. And then the only kimono I had, like, who's fit me was the Bita's kimono. And then he said, okay, we're going to find the kimonos with Bita. And my friend gave me the blue belt. And then I thought, I said, a lot of grips. You know, like the kimono was huge.
Yeah.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
The kimono was like huge. The kimono was huge. And like, okay. And then the guy approached me and said, you are fighting our master kimono. If you lose, we're gonna kick your ass. And I said, okay,
shit.
Okay, let's do it. You know, like, and like I won the first fight. In the final, it was the guy who beat me in the yellow belt. And then say, like, okay, I need to fight him again. So it's my revenge, because that in the back, like I felt like I could won the fight because I was so confident in my guard. Back then in the yellow belt, in the yellow match,
right?
I was so confident in my guard, and then the guy pulled the guard first, and then he swept me. But I was also passing guard, but he swept me. It was my mistake when I got swept. I let him come to the mount. So and then I was ended up like 6-0. He covered the. I was there. My dad was there. My mom was there. They never show up to watch me fight, and then it's almost the clock stopped.
Oh yeah, the experience.
Then I was there, say, okay, I will lose it. So I will lose my dad, my mom, and they will see like I'm in the loser. And then I said, no, it won't end up like that. So I at least have to try. And then I tried to push him to escape and end up with armbar. I almost broke his arm. So I kept his arm. I almost like broke the one side, the other side, tried to pull his arm.
Pause. He was on mount. He was on mount. And then what?
Yeah,
and then you pushed him off.
I recovered the guard.
Yeah. Oh, you got the guard, and then you caught him in an armbar. Whoa.
Yeah, I covered the guard in the armbar. And then I got the armbar for one side, the other side. The guy was almost tapping. I didn't see, but my friend was saying like he was always like raising his hand to tap. And he didn't tap, and then I ended up on the mount. It was 6-4, but there was no time anymore. I lost the match.
Wow.
And I felt like, man, if I didn't let him mount, because actually I lost, by the way. Like, I'm not like saying, oh, okay.
Sure.
I lost. I lost.
Well, what a
but
mental.
I felt like I would do something different. Why did I let him mount? And then I kept it on me. And that was this kind of blue belt. It was the final. And then I said, okay, now is my revenge. And it was a kind of a revenge because we knew each other already. Like, because after this match, so we hang out eventually on the street and say hello and hi. But I went to him. And the mindset was, okay, if I lose, I want to be his bitch. I want to be 2-0 for him. So I have at least to make a draw.
Nice.
And it was a final. And it was a close match. And then I ended up like winning. It was my first blue belt match and with Bita's kimono. And then like after without sleeping, and it was so exciting. And then like I competed more like local tournaments,
right?
But not huge tournaments. Like it was just local tournaments. And we had like many tough fights, fighters fighting on coming to Teresópolis to fight, but not huge tournaments because it also was like it was just for medals, and the medal was just the prize. Like I did it, you know, and there was no prize money. It was just like, okay, I went
the experience.
Like, I did it, you know, like and we have like many stories. Like this was cool for me. Like it was that, you know. I always remember, and you know the interesting thing, I didn't remember the story.
Yeah.
You know, like, and then you call me on the show, and then say, okay. Eventually, you tell me the stories. I start to remember like many things that I passed through, and then I say like, man, that was cool. Like, because it's been more than 20 years, and it's like, wow, that's cool. Like how I started.
All right, man. You know, it's what you're saying. When you start talking about things, memories come back out of nowhere. Just like when you smell something, then you remember something from your childhood. But it's crazy how much these small things that sometimes we forget impact us today in jiu-jitsu. Like What you went through in that experience must have impacted how you roll, how you train, the Pohada mindset kind of situation, right?
Yeah, I actually I don't remember like how it affected me, but I do remember that I was overexcited.
Sure.
Wow, that's really cool. And our team, like they come in hugging me. Yes, you won, and you won, and you won. It's like yeah, I felt like great. Like I felt like I want to compete again. So I just competed as a blue belt, like some events, some local events,
right?
And like purple, I think I did one or two, and then like, but more like I was just rolling and training. And after that, I started to go to the college, and then as this is the other period of my life that's like jiu-jitsu, then the technology comes in, and then after I come back and live.
That's where I wanted to talk to you about as well. Like, so you're training jiu-jitsu, but at the same time you're going to school. When did you start getting into computer science or technology?
Yeah, actually, it was also an interesting story, by the way, because I was training like really hard. I didn't know in Brazil have a test that you need to go to the college.
Right.
And I was there talking to a friend. I have my ex-girlfriend, and then her mom said, "Okay, pay for the test, and then if you pass, you go to the college."
Interesting.
I didn't know even I had to pay for the test. For me, it was like just go there and test. Like
you had to pay for the test to go to college.
I wasn't the kind of guy who studied a lot, and I did. I passed the test, and then I went to the college. But before that, I was talking to a friend, and that was the kind of click that helped me there. He was studying medicine. He was a medicine student, and he was really good training. He was like trained a little bit, but really tough guy. Like always like different techniques. His techniques was totally different than someone else.
Sure.
And it was simple techniques, reversal triangle, something like this.
Right.
And once I was talking to him, I said like, "Leo, you have to train him more, man. You need to train him more, like because we were good, man. We could be a world champion or something like that." And then he said, "Diego, I'm here just to have fun because I'm studying, and I'm studying medicine. And after that, I can pay like private classes, and then I can become like a world champion if I want to. But now it's time to get study and to try to get my future. And you are young, like." And then he looked at me and said, like, "You have many guys here. It's like probably one or two you have jiu-jitsu as a profession." And then said, "You should go to school and focus on the college because you have end up more opportunities."
Right.
That kept like my mind. I really love jiu-jitsu, but back then it's like, how can I live with jiu-jitsu? I always thought like, okay, I'm gonna have my own academy, and my own gym.
That was the dream for everybody in
but
jiu-jitsu.
I said, yeah. And then I said, like, at the same time, I was like, I said, I need to go to study a little bit, because even my ex-mother-in-law, that she paid for me. I said, like, I cannot like say no, And then I started to study, and it opened my mind for many other opportunities that I could have. Even the first class, they said in the first class, the guy explained how costly would be the college, because here in the first class they said, okay, I want to wait everyone come in the class because I need to explain. And then he said, if you want to skip the class, it's on you. Okay, you skip the class, it's on you. I won't go after you. So, but before that, explain to you how it costs. So doesn't matter if you are in the class or if you are not in the class, my salary in the end will be the same. Doesn't matter if you pass to the next semester. If you do not pass, my salary will be the same. So the only difference here, the only variable here is you are the only one who pays. So you pay to receive knowledge. So I transfer my knowledge to you. So if you want to miss the class, you are paying for nothing. So you are taking your money and throwing in the garbage.
Exactly.
That hit me back. So like, I need to study. And then I was paying, and it was like I had to work, and then I had to work and I had to study. And then I said, no, I need to focus on school. I train, and then like up to that point, I had to stop training jiu-jitsu like frequently. And then I come back later on.
You prioritize your education.
But Vita was teaching. Yeah. And then I come back later on to train jiu-jitsu. But Bita was in that period of time, like Bita was started teaching jiu-jitsu university there. And like eventually I skipped the class just to go there and have a train, like one row, and then come back to the class, just addicted I was of jiu-jitsu, because like the time it was the match to go to the
I got you.
Class, the regular class, go to the college, because I had to work. I think most of people quit jiu-jitsu because of that, like back then. And that was when I started to be aware of technology, you know, like, and then I was programming course, you know, science, computer science course. And I start to get familiar with technology, and then then after that, I come back to jiu-jitsu, and then I started like mixing between the technology and jiu-jitsu and how I use technology with jiu-jitsu, you know, even nowadays.
So that's where I wanted to get an idea from you. When did you start actively using technology and jiu-jitsu? After you graduated or before you graduated from university?
Yeah, it was after, for sure, because back then I didn't have even computer. Like, it was just even in the college I didn't have computer. I used to go to my friend's house to study there, like to do the exercises that we had from the classes. So we end up like finishing all the classes, and then I go back home. But after long time after, you know, like, because I start to use like basically on YouTube channel. So I create the one blog. It's supposed to be like Aprenda Jiu-Jitsu.
That started as a blog.
I start to use Jiu-Jitsu because the story of, yeah, it started as a blog actually, but I've never seen it as a just blog, because what happened, the story is like the technology for me.
Yes.
Everything I built, because I feel like I use technology because I like to be entrepreneur. And basically what's the beauty of everything, if you have a problem, you can solve the problem. If you solve your problem, probably you can solve many other problems.
Absolutely.
You know? And I was watching many YouTube videos, lots of YouTube videos, and some of them we had back then like some websites, jiu-jitsu websites, but not that much, like some few. And I was watching a YouTube channel because, as you said, like, we are off the mat, but our mind has to be in the mat. So I always kept like always as close as I could in jiu-jitsu. You know, I never be always so far away. You know, like, I end up watching some videos, YouTube videos, and like just to get like a scenario back then. So now we have titles, now we have everything, but before the people did not know how to use technology. And I remember the click to start the website, because I don't, but I couldn't find, because back then the guy just take the photo, the video, goes upload to YouTube, and then select DSC12345. That's the name of the camera file. And they do not know how to change. You know, like, but the technique was really cool, and they did not know how to change. So what I did is say, like, I want to start to create something that I can create a kind of catalog. And then I start to, every nice technique that I watch it on the YouTube, I start to put on my blog and describe what I'm seeing, what I'm watching.
You put the video on your blog?
That was like two reasons, because I copied, I embed the video on the post and write it down what I was watching, because actually now it's in the charger.
Your phone's connected to the charger, right?
Yeah, now it's connected to the charger.
Okay. All right. I'll interrupt you if it gets too laggy, because like we couldn't hear what you were saying. So if you could repeat about when you started, like you were working with this company and Google was starting to get really big. So what was this agency doing?
Yeah, it was my own agency. Like, we just developed websites. And well, actually, it was based on website and systems, online systems.
Got you.
And we had this SEO that we start to get stronger. And I want to sell this kind of services. And I had like my own project, you know, like, because I was far away from jiu-jitsu, but I would try to create. And the Aprenda Jiu-Jitsu was like the reason I end up here, by the way. But I start to create this website, and then I say, like, okay, I'll create something that's mine. I want to be like, it's my kind of part-time job, or it was a part-time job, but it was like just to have it for fun, you know. And then I start to create this website. I create from scratch, and then I start to create every single class, every single lesson that I watch it. It was nice. I put the credit, I put the link, and then I say, like, Zay taking like lapel guard, and then explain lapel guard, and then explain the variations. And then I start to order all techniques that I was watching inside of the structure. Let's say, because how complex jiu-jitsu is. Let's say if I ask you triangle, what triangle is? You're gonna say, okay, triangle is a choke, and you are right. But also triangle is attack from guard. But triangle also can be attacked from the mount position.
Exactly.
And so I start to use this and try to catalog these techniques as many as I could, as many type of ways as I could. So if you went there, let's say I want to learn choke, So we go there and search by choke. You see triangle, lateral choke, rear neck choke, Ezekiel, so many chokes.
So you tag them, yeah.
But if you want like choke, yeah, but if you choke from mount, you see like attacks from mount. And so over time, I end up like cataloging more than 500 techniques.
Wow.
But even more than 500. Then I will start to have more people on board. But I start to use this as an experiment.
Sure.
And I start to end up like, Aprenda Jiu-Jitsu was everything. Like everything you search in Google, the first 3 options would be Aprenda Jiu-Jitsu.
Was there any other platform in Brazil?
Jiu-Jitsu, few of them. That was quite easy even to put it there, because they were there because there was no anybody else.
Of course.
You know, and then we start to get, and our ranked page was Wikipedia.
Wow.
You know, and then I start to get this experiment, and I noticed that people start to like it because it was interesting the way they say, like, oh, it's helping me a lot, because eventually I want to learn a new technique. I go to Aprenda Jiu-Jitsu, and then there I surf in the internet, I surf in the categories, and then I find nice techniques, and that was a period that I learned a lot. So that was the main match where like Jiu-Jitsu came net technology in my life. And
way before most people.
Zero, it was like a small project. Yeah, actually it was. There was even online platform. I don't recall. Like, I think it was like just Grace University, and like few of them just online websites and just small blogs. And we came like it was like really fast. We reached 255,000 followers on Facebook. Facebook was like really strong that time. You have like 255,000, and everything on Google was Aprenda Jiu-Jitsu in the first, and we have like Instagram coming in, and then we have like, nowadays we have 15,000 followers, but it wasn't our focus. Like in that time it was like Facebook and our website. And it was really strong. Eventually I came here in UAE, a guy came to me and said, I know you. I said, yeah, really sorry, man, I don't remember you. I said, no, actually, I do not know you, but I know your website. And they said, oh, that's cool, man. You know, like, that was interesting. You know?
So tell me, how did the Aprenda Jiu-Jitsu land you in the UAE? Because you're saying that they connected.
Yeah, so I was like working, and for me, work is never like something that it's so heavy for me, because if I'm working and it's a kind of passion, I work and I learn and I keep improving. And that's like, even my wife said, I don't feel that you are working, because you go to your agency and it's still there like for hours and hours and hours. You don't want to, because I really love what I do.
Right.
And then, but back then, like I was like getting stressed with what was happening, like that, the agency, the environment. So we have exchanging the team, and I was getting stressed with my job start to get stressful. And then I need to come back to Jiu-Jitsu, and Aprenda Jiu-Jitsu was growing, you know, Aprenda Jiu-Jitsu was growing and growing and growing. And I said, you know, like maybe it can be a business, you know, like, I don't know, maybe it can be a business. And I come back to train like harder, to record some small videos. And I asked my audience over there and say, okay, I need to pay the bills with the Aprenda Jiu-Jitsu only. I don't want to have any money, because I was settled with my company. It was fine. It was like just for fun, but I was spend some money to host the website and to create and have like some people helping there. And I asked the question, like I create a mock-up, two t-shirts, and then I said, okay, which one you like the most? The black, the gray. Actually, it was 3: the black, the gray, and the white. And people start to answer, okay, I like the black, I like the gray, I like both. And then the people say, where can I buy? I want to buy all of them. And then I said, what? But wait, I mean, when I buy it, no, I'm just asking which one you like the most. And then lots of comments, like people want to buy. And I say, you know what? Let's give it a try. I call my one of my I forgot the English. I have to say, like the guy who provides me the service. I asked supplier. I call my supplier. Thank you. And then I said, like, can you give me like a price of the shirts and how it works? Because I used to do this like for the agency. And then he gave me the price. He said, okay, that's cool. In how long is the delivery? And I said, like, I can deliver it in 1 week. But And then I asked, can you deliver like one day? If I ask one, you can deliver the another day. And then say, yeah, we can try.
Okay.
And then say, okay, now I have the answer. I have the supplier. So I have the audience, and they are saying they will buy. So let's see if they buy.
Okay.
And then I build like in 3 or 4 hours, I build the online store.
Wow.
And I put that images over there. And then I said, okay, pre-sale. Let's see if the people. So if they nobody buys, so and then like a pre-sale, and I will deliver it at 15 days from now. And like for my surprise, people start to order the t-shirts.
Wow.
You know, like I have like so many orders and say, oh, that's cool. And then I call my supplier and say, I need you to come here tomorrow because we need to provide some t-shirts.
That's cool.
I have to start to sell. We need to start to build it. And then I start to build a business, losing even my own. Like, can you hear?
It's cutting up very badly.
Got the leg again.
Yeah, very badly. There's like a big delay between when I talk with you and when it happens. This is the unfortunate thing about doing online interviews. But did the phone charge a little bit? Did your phone charge?
Yeah. It's still like now it's better, more battery than before. Now it's like 25%.
Okay.
Okay.
I'm just waiting to see your.
Let's otherwise you can switch to the computer.
Your signal's a little bit better, because man, it's just such a beautiful story, and it like when it interrupts, I want to just connect it together.
Yeah.
I just want to say a note. This is during a time where like when you build a website, it's not squarespace.com, custom templates. You have to build it from scratch, build a store, connect it to the supplier so you can get the right orders. It wasn't easy.
Yeah, actually, like the blog was WordPress, but it was from scratch because I bought a template, but I built from scratch, like the whole structure.
Yes. And the shop.
It was just a test. Nowadays, you can say like it's gonna be MVP. You know, like the shop will have online platform. I think it's good.
Yeah.
I think it's good again. You want me to switch it to the computer?
If we could switch to the computer, I'll wait for you here on the live, and then I'll edit the video later. But because it keeps interrupting and it like cuts the flow of the talking.
Yeah, I want to bring it here, like to try. If you cut it again, and switch to the
sure.
Computer. Actually, I can connect both of them.
Yeah.
So
if the battery,
and then I had like because it was like my job. Like I had many platforms that was. We were partners, and then I ended up building one of them. Like that's why it was really easy because we knew like it was my job, like to build online platforms. It was very easy actually,
right,
and then like it started to build a business. So that why I said like because I'm here because I start to lose the interest, like to be in the company, like working the way I was working, and it's like I want to be more in the mat. I think it can be a business, and I was losing interest. And then Palm Sports came in. I saw like many friends coming to the UAE, and then I said like, I really love jiu-jitsu, man. I want to live this passion. I want to live something related to jiu-jitsu. And then I start to like more and more comes to the mat and dreams about to come to work at Palm Sports, because of this connection that jiu-jitsu gave me. And that's why, like, it was growing inside me. So, like, okay, maybe eventually I leave, eventually I go. And then I said, you know what? I'm gonna move that. Nice. And then I end up here.
Nice. And you offered, like, you were offered a job as an instructor, as a coach. What was your job offer here?
Before was a instructor.
Instructor, okay.
Even I failed, instructor, a jiu-jitsu instructor. Now I'm supervisor. But I was even like the first time I failed, like I failed the English test.
Oh.
I remember like many friends, I say, okay, you're gonna try. Like I have many recommendations here.
Sure.
They will say like he's serious guy, so he's gonna work. He's a hard worker. But I failed in English test.
That's surprising. How many years ago was this?
I feel like it was 5 years ago.
Wow.
But like I feel like even once I reached here, I didn't know how to speak properly. Like it was really hard for me to understand and to talk. It was like just the basic. I learned just the basic English.
That's crazy.
And then I studied a lot. Just
clearly.
because like the first time like once I failed, I even say I promised them. I say, okay, I will study. I will study. I promise I will study. Wow. I promise I will study. And then I think it was just a junior at that time. Said like, I know, but everybody promised to come here. You study.
Right.
So I have better candidates. So you fail English test. I cannot approve you. I said, yeah, you are right. You're right. I have nothing to contest. You are right. You have better candidates. So there you go. So it like the time passed. I start to study, and also I use like the technology again. So I got injured. I had to go to physiotherapy. And I was there like for the first 2 sessions, like doing nothing inside of the box on the bed, like lie in the bed, and it's like doing nothing. And then it's like, you know what? I took my tablet, and then I took English classes, and then during this therapy time, I was studying English. Like I started to study English.
Did your physiotherapist speak English?
No, it was just Portuguese. But they come here, like let's say they put like some ice, and then he left, and then he wait like for 20 minutes, 10 minutes to come back. So I was giving a lesson, and like I had like plenty of time to go there, and like between this, he comes back and go back, and like this back and forth, I had time to study English. And then I kept studying like as long as I could, like few moments. So I used the internet because I really love this connection because I can study everywhere, and then like I had a tablet, I started to study there. It wasn't enough, actually. I felt not that confident, but at least it was something. Like I could communicate.
Better than before. Okay.
I couldn't even talk. Like if you ask my name, I couldn't. And then before coming here, like we had this offer, and we went to the US. Like my wife said, "Hey Diego, we should try. Like we have like this kind of seminar in the US.
Right.
We should give it a try. We are going to Palm Sport, so why don't you try your English?" And then I say, okay, let's go there. And then we paid our trip with my money of the seminar. Like I said, like I used the seminar to pay my trip, and then and test the English. And I remember that's interesting how people are key in your life. Like some people you never know, they can give you some piece of advice, and then it can change your way to see things. I was in New York, and we took a taxi. I was already like, the same night was in New Mexico. But then we had like one trip around there. And I was like, my head was like, I don't want to talk in English because it forced me a lot, like to try to speak in English.
Sure.
The taxi driver was trying to pull a conversation, say like, okay, to pick a conversation and say like, okay, where are you from? And then I was like just answering the basic, like, yeah, Brazil.
Nice. Okay.
And then my wife looked at me and said, Diego, he wants to talk to you. And then I said, no, I don't want to talk to him. I'm not practicing English. Why don't? And then I said, I don't know, I'm not confident. And then he said, like, but try. You not see him again. And I said, yeah, you are right. And then I start the conversation like that. I'm sorry, I do not speak English. And he said, what? And then he said, I'm sorry about. I said, I'm sorry about my English. And then he said, sorry about what? Say about my English. And then he said, what's the outcome of English? What do you expect to learn English, to talk in English? I said, I don't know, man. I don't know even answer this in Portuguese. How can I answer in English? And then I felt like, huh? And then he said, the communication, the language is just to communicate. And are you understanding me? I said, yes, I am. I am understanding you. So you are talking English. And that was like, yeah, man, I don't need to be perfect in English. It's not my primary language, but I need to communicate. I need to be able to communicate, to be understood, and to understand people.
Sure.
And once I said that to them, like I say, I will study English. I told them because for me, studying English is not part of my job. It's part of my life.
Yeah.
Because if I study English, I will benefit the most. Of course, it impacts my job. And since I arrived here, so I studied a lot. In 3 months, I was able to give you the class, to talk with the people who I work with, like the.
But that's amazing. Like what you're saying is,
I would understand.
What you're saying is amazing because you've been studying. You've been here for 5 years. In 5 years, your English level is like that, which is crazy. That says a lot about your work ethic.
Yeah, I try, like, I'm still like trying to improve a lot. I know I have many like spelling mistakes or accent mistakes, or like I have many if grammarly mistakes. I know that, I'm aware of that, but we need to improve, right? But now at the point I am, I can communicate, I can understand, I can have a conversation, I can have a phone conversation. So it's fluent, you know? But I remember that, say, once I got there, I said, like, I will learn for myself, because later on I want to travel. Like, we're gonna get money here, so I'm gonna travel the world. And if I pretend that I'm studying, so I cannot pretend in real life.
Exactly.
I can pretend to my boss. I can pretend like for my students,
but
I cannot really pretend that I'm studying. So the outcome is there, you know. And I really want to learn jiu-jitsu. For me, like, I want to improve. I want to learn, you know.
Sure.
And the process was really clear. I even said, like, the technology. So I broke my English strategy, because what I said, like, I won't come from here zero to hero at once. So, but what's my primary job here? I have to give classes. So what I did, I said, I need to learn body parts.
Nice.
So I draw a body parts.
For jiu-jitsu, that's important.
Head, hand. Yeah, of course. Like, because I couldn't complete a sentence, but I could say hand here. Because if you lose here, there, and the people you see, like, here, here, and the people follow you.
Exactly.
But of course, I don't want to talk like that. And then I start to every single class try to improve one
add
more
something
word.
more.
Let's say before it was here, then it was like hand here, then hand, arm, hand, sleeve, and then head. And then I start to connect all this part of the body. And then I start to build bigger sentences until I master the class, because the jiu-jitsu class is easy. Like, if I do not know English, so I can't just use keywords to make my student understand. And if they understand me, like, I can keep on top of that, building more and more grammar. And then I study something else.
Exactly. I think that's the interesting thing about jiu-jitsu, is because it's a physical activity and it allows you to learn. Because one thing that I like a lot is you learned English through teaching jiu-jitsu. There's a lot of Arabs in the Middle East that are learning English through studying jiu-jitsu, because a lot of the coaches that come, they don't speak Arabic, they speak English. And a lot of the students don't speak English, they speak Arabic. So in order to communicate together, they accept your shortcomings in English in order for you to accept their shortcomings in English. And you guys have to meet in between. The interesting thing, Diego, that I found, and this thing, like, when I see it, it makes me really happy. I hear a lot of Arabs today speaking like Brazilians, English. Do you notice this?
The accent, to me.
Yeah. They, like, if I meet them for the first time and they talk to me in English, I'd be like, where in Terzopoulos are you from? Like, you don't sound Emirati. Because, you know, Emiratis, when they speak Arabic, when they speak English, you can tell Arabs, hello, yes, how are you? This is Arabic. They speak English. But Portuguese, hello, how are you? Like, they skip the R, you know? And the Arabs here, they're speaking English like Brazilians. And I love it. It's such a cool thing to see.
Yeah, interesting. I haven't noticed, but yeah, it's interesting, because eventually we're learning from each other. By the way, like, even we meet in between. Like, if even in the class, like, if you speak like I speak a lot in English, the people will not understand you. It's like you have to have, like, okay, come back to the language. We need to be understood and understand.
Exactly.
And eventually you mimic. Like, if you do not know.
Okay, I think I can hear you now, but every now and then it skips.
Oh, you wanna keep trying from here? What do you think?
Let's keep going. Let's keep going. So tell me something, Diego. You started instructing and teaching, but I understand that at some point you started finding a way to bring your technological background and data background into jiu-jitsu in your job. Is that correct?
Yeah, actually, everything I try to use technology. Even if I assemble something, I use technology. The people even play, like, back in the work, they say, okay, if Diego needs to do something, so he's gonna build one Excel sheet first, and then he's gonna start from there.
Yeah.
Because I think it can optimize, and it can give me, like, a sense of historical data. You know, like, even when you build a system, so we have many information that comes to us. But if you do not realize, like if you not look at the data, let's say you have one podcast that say, I don't know, reach like, I don't know, 1,000 viewers or listeners. And that doesn't mean much, like, because it's alone doesn't mean much. You need to look at the back one, the second one, the third one, and then you have to start to get somehow the history of your podcast to try to get the connection to see, okay, what interesting people the most? Why this one had a peak and this one was so low?
Nice.
Eventually, it can be like the interviewer, the subject, but eventually can be your concurrent. Like you have like someone else is doing a live at the same time as you.
Yes.
And it seems that the people are not interested in your life, but it doesn't mean that that's true. But it might be, but might not be. Like you have to try
analyze
to get
the data. Yeah.
So doing my work, doing my work, like I'm trying to have a look at this data and try to get, okay, what kind of insight can benefit? How can I make people's life easier? Or how can I even, let's say we have a camp. So which one was the crowded camp? Which one was the less interest camp? What's the reason? Maybe it was really far away, or maybe, I don't know, there's a coach that was that day that who brought his students. So we start to get like some knowledge behind the data, and based on that, we start to build like what you can change, or what we can like at least understand better what we do.
So who's when it comes to like the data, what kind of data are you looking for? Who's collecting the data? Because like it's not just data, somebody needs to collect the data. So are you creating like a platform here from which people input data and you can analyze it in the back?
Yeah, we at Palm we track all data. We have to do attendance, like we have to send reports. So the normal classes, we need to understand like who is training with wearing kimonos, not wearing kimonos. So all this content, all this data, we need to, which class we are giving in class, like we have the class and we have the lesson. So which lesson was taught in that particular class? So we can, based on this, we have like at Palm Sports, we have tablets and we do attendance, like every single coach.
Interesting.
We do attendance on the spot before each class. Then you provide the class. So how many classes they shouldn't have along this period and which he learned. Everything comes to our main database, and then we start to analyze all this.
Got you. And
like to try to get interesting thing. Let's say even the graduation is based on the attendance.
The graduation of promotion of belts, you mean?
Yeah. The belt promotion is based on the attendance of the student. It's one of the parameters, like because the system usually we have like many classes, some classes,
right?
Everywhere now. Jiu-Jitsu before back then was just like the professor look at you, say, yeah, I'm gonna give you a belt.
Exactly.
And eventually you are long time, maybe you are 3 years with blue belt.
Right.
But now we're like we have systems, like we have some classes. Each place has different system, their own systems.
Sure.
When I mean systems, not software.
Yes.
I mean system of graduation system. Yes. And we have like, let's say 10 classes, 20 classes, or whatever it is. And then we graduate. So we track this data. Like we have to see like, okay, how many classes the student has. So the tablet inform the coach and the coach graduate the student.
Right. And so now with this data that you're getting, is there any interesting data that you're trying to get? Like what leads to somebody being more successful than other? What leads to better retention, better attendance? Is there any metrics that you're looking for in that side?
Yeah, we are always trying to look at like different data. Like first we are collecting as much as we can, because once we are collecting, we do not know what is important and what is not.
Exactly.
Like eventually what we collect, we collect for one reason, and then you can benefit for the other reason.
Sure.
Let's say I'm going to give you an example. We built one part of our system that to create a registration. We have nationals and we have regionals.
Yes.
And we have the students that the coach have to register the students in our own platform.
Sure.
So the idea is to get the registration, and then we build like one part of the system that the coach can register the student, and you can extract the data to generate the brackets. So that was the reason, like just to generate the brackets.
Got you.
And after that, of course, to get the champion or the medalists and put in our system back to see, okay, I want to see whoever got medals. But in between, like I realized that we have to bring the students to the competition. And I had the data, I have all the information. So why not bring a piece of paper, a kind of report that could be attendance? So then we end up like creating a report that's just a piece of paper with the student's name, all information. Then if you're present or absent, and if you got medal, yes or no. And in the top of that, like the coach count how many medals he won in that particular competition.
Interesting.
So it helped us, it helped the coach to control the students and also to control their medals. Like, okay, how many medals do we have? And then it's a small thing that we collect the data for one purpose, and then start to, okay, with this data, we can use other stuff. Like you can help in the other way around. So, and then you start to create this other part. It's a simple one that helps a lot. So, but based on the collection, like the collection data.
Yes. Now that's the thing. I'm trying to wrap my brain around all of the data that you might possibly have, and I'm trying to think like, how can this impact the future of jiu-jitsu? Because anything new we bring in has always benefited the game. And let's talk about jiu-jitsu. Technically, when they started bringing in some wrestling, some sambo, some jiu-jitsu black belts they traveled and they experienced some new martial art, they added it to jiu-jitsu, it helped. I think maybe we are at a brink of a technological addition. We're seeing the online training, the online classes. This is definitely playing a role in people communicating with each other. But I think like the data side could be a very interesting parallel. Do you think technology is going to impact combat sports in the near future? Coaching, breeding new champions, the future of jiu-jitsu?
Definitely. I don't know how near it be, but it's going to be soon. We are way behind most of the sports.
Okay.
Like consolidated sports. But I'm not saying just sports, because once you see technology, I always see it as a tool.
Yeah.
As I said in the beginning, so I imagine it's a tool. So for sure, you have many tools missing in jiu-jitsu. Let's say I want to have like a tool that controls my attendance. It's one example.
Yes.
So we have the academy. The academy should have their own, but you could have your own. You could track your own learning process. Let's say we have a tool that is an app that we go there and what you learned today, and then you register what you learned. For example, we could have like the training, how many times you train kind of sparring. We could have like as many nice tools that we could like to create, like to build your training session, to understand your game, to build classes, like to structure the class properly. We can have like, we see volleyball. So volleyball, they track every single movement they have on the spot.
Yes.
So they have nowadays like a tablet.
Yes.
If they say like he comes from one side and then attacking, they lost the block, we didn't block, so they tag it, right? So they start to get data from every single movement.
And do they have somebody dedicated?
Quite hard, but let's say.
So, sorry, there's a delay when I talk to you, so you'll hear it late. So that's why like the talking over will happen. Is there somebody in volleyball that's physically inputting the data?
Yeah, there is.
So you need somebody to physically do that in jiu-jitsu.
Yeah, no, I'm not saying that jiu-jitsu is possible, but I'm saying that we have many other solutions that could be applied at jiu-jitsu nowadays.
Yeah.
For example, Alexandre, let's say Alexandre. Alexandre now is giving referee courses online.
Yeah, he is.
So giving a lot of tips. Man, how cool is that? Because like it's a technology going straight to the fighters. Like you will learn better the technique, the rules, and they can change their game based on the rules.
Right.
Because they can study rules. It's already technology changing them. We can have like many other ways. We can have professors learning from each other, because before it was just learning from something bigger. Sure. But now we have the knowledge that we can exchange.
Sure.
So I can create my own course the way I use technology that can benefit my way to use to save my videos, to save my stories. Like I have my process to save videos on YouTube, to save Instagram videos, Maybe I can share with you, and then you can change your game process. But even you can create a platform to do so, but we still have a way back. Like we have like nutritionists nowadays with apps. So jiu-jitsu have just online classes, like or app classes. So
Diego,
few solutions.
Sorry to interrupt you there, but you know, on what you're saying, I find it very interesting because the time we're going through now with this whole coronavirus pandemic, you're hearing a lot of potentially sports that are going to have no audiences while the sports are happening. Like UFC is considering doing Fight Island and just the fighters and their teams fighting, and then the audience doesn't come there. Now, this is a very interesting situation because what happens in this environment is that the costs of performance decrease for the organizer. In order for an organizer to have 30,000 people watching a fight, they have to spend a lot of money. In this situation, that money is no longer important to be saved. So they can spend it on providing quality content for the people watching from home. Before, I could open the TV, watch two fighters fight. Maybe I'll hear some camera from the red corner, some microphone from the blue corner, but that's it. I feel like technology in the last 5 years with the UFC, it's a perfect example for Jiu-Jitsu. You'll read how many takedown defenses, how many takedowns achieved. You can see how many strikes, how many kicks. Now, I feel if we continue with this pandemic trend and people really leveraging technology, they will start going into angles and details. Maybe they will have a professional commentator on the side commentating on his jiu-jitsu as he goes to the ground. You never know how it goes. And I think this is where it's so interesting to turn jiu-jitsu is a complex martial art. A person who doesn't train jiu-jitsu will hit a wall when watching it. It's very boring for them. If we start bringing in technology, maybe we can find a way to make it interesting also, I think.
Yeah, you can say, like, let's say ludic game. So let's say we can have a game, like that they play jiu-jitsu and then you start to understand, because what's the hard for jiu-jitsu, because the rules are not clear. The rules are clear, but the techniques are complex.
Yes.
We cannot say, jiu-jitsu will never be a football, because football, the rules are, there is no such different movement. So the guys, if I hit you, is fault, right? If I hit you before the ball, is fault. If the ball goes outside the line, is out. So we have to corner kick or side kick.
Got you.
But in jiu-jitsu, we have so many different situations that you can face it, that even like Alexandre said, like he keep studying, because things change over time.
Right.
But for the jiu-jitsu, like, I feel like we are just like scratching the surface, because people, you create a lot of things now. Like they focus on their online platform. So everyone is creating the platform because they say, like, okay, now it can be a business. Everybody was against, but now they said, okay, why not? Like, why not?
They were forced to.
But we have like many different things that we do not even thought about. Like maybe they will create like a social media. I heard like we have one entire social media for jiu-jitsu.
BJJ link.
Like coming in, bringing in. Yeah, so they are bringing, like, it's different. It will survive. I'm not sure, right? Maybe it won't survive, but it can survive. I don't know.
Sure.
But it's one initiative, like focus on jiu-jitsu part, and you can have many others. No, why not? I don't know. Maybe we create, like, we have a problem, and maybe when I say problem, it's not a problem itself, but I mean something that we are seeing a gap, that you could create something to feed this gap. As you said, like we saw a gap with many stories to be heard, and you said, I want to set my podcast. So it's one more initiative.
Yes.
Like, and then we evolve, and later on you're gonna think someone else you're gonna think in a different approach.
Right, exactly.
I have some ideas for apps. I never seen this in jiu-jitsu, and I say, like, maybe one day. That's why maybe one day I'm gonna develop. But first,
I hope so.
I do as I always do. Yeah, I always do for me. Like, because the way I see, like, I just need to solve a problem that I have.
Yes.
So if I have this problem, if the app doesn't succeed, it helps me, right? So it's already successful.
Absolutely.
But I represent an entire ecosystem, because if I have this problem, if I face this issue, maybe someone else can face the same. So maybe they can benefit from my app, as it was in Aprenda Jiu-Jitsu. So once I created, it was like, for me, selfish. I want to build it for me. And then I wanted to share because it was good for me.
Yes.
And then it was good for a lot of people. But in the first place, it was like, I want to build this for myself.
I like that.
To get used. And then maybe someone else will create some stuff like that.
Because
like, technology, we have like many ways to build.
It's very true what you're saying on that point. A lot of people build something for others, thinking that it'll make them money. And it ends up failing because they built it with the false premise that they can understand what everybody wants. But if you build something that you as a person need, chances are there's 3% of the world population like you. That's a pretty big number, you know what I mean? So build it for yourself, make sure you benefit from it, and then people will naturally benefit, which is kind of like what you're saying. Like with this podcast, me talking to you, me talking to Rodrigo, and all of these exceptional people, I benefit so much, man. I learn so much about my own jiu-jitsu, about life. So if I'm benefiting, I'm sure somebody listening is benefiting, you know? And
yeah, definitely.
So Aprenda Jiu-Jitsu is still running or not?
Yeah, actually, we revamped the Aprenda Jiu-Jitsu. Once I came here, I want to focus so much on the business part. Like, actually, I want, like I say, I want to build, but in a different approach for the Aprenda Jiu-Jitsu. Because I think I do not have the time I had before, like to build, to keep posting, to keep following, and it's supposed to be up to date. Like the problem is, I was in WordPress, and what happened? I kept like not watching, and then we had like some virus, and even the backup had virus because otherwise I would keep like updating the platform because it was really cool. I eventually I went there like, okay, I have no idea to give a class today, so what can I do? Like, and then I went there like take one, 2, 3 techniques and say like, yeah, I'm gonna take this, but the technique makes sense.
Yes,
you know. And I keep the store. The store is still online, and like just to running a small business over there. But I think like I will create like.
I hope so. And
I don't know.
Is it in English also, or is it just in Portuguese?
It was just Portuguese, and that was even one of the purpose that I created Aprenda Jiu-Jitsu at that time. So everyone was creating like when I said like Portuguese, no platform that like that in Brazil. We have few, but around the globe we had lots, and it was all English.
I see.
And then I said, okay, that's why I translate. Like I tried to put in Portuguese and explain in Portuguese. Even the guy was talking English. I couldn't understand the English, but I was explaining the technique on the text below. The technique itself and give you some tips. As a black belt, say, okay, these are the key point that you should learn. And it was like on purpose because it was focused on Brazil. Like no one cares about Brazil at this point because everyone was always looking around the globe. And then I said, I want to focus on Brazil. You know, like that was the main like idea of the Aprenda Jiu-Jitsu itself. But nowadays, I think if I would create in English as well, like maybe both English.
I would like to see a platform like that. Like, I mean, I've always had this fascination and dream. Like, it's unfortunate because, how can I say, it's discouraging when you start this process with jiu-jitsu of trying to take notes and journaling your jiu-jitsu because, like you said, it's such a complex martial art. You'll start somewhere. You'll be like, okay, guard, closed guard, back, turtle position, half guard. Okay, for example. And then you start with guard and you're like, oh shit, but triangle works in mount. So where do I connect them and how do I write it? And then you lose it and your pages get long and fuck. and you don't know how to monitor it all. Because it happened to me. I can't, every time I learn so many techniques because I train with so many of you guys and you guys have such crazy things, small details. I need to keep this. I lose track of them, you know, so I need to keep it. The problem is when I write it down, I lose it. If I do it on the computer, it looks scary, man. It's like a scary web. So somebody needs to join brains and forces.
You see, like the problem I'm facing is the same as you face. You see, like now I have one more person to use my app.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, like because actually, what that was the behind the Aprenda Jiu-Jitsu, there is nothing like new technology behind that. It was available. It was like this hard work to put all these pieces, like all this information that is spread in a way that I would understand and was easily connect one technique to another. You know, like YouTube does it today, but YouTube is not for jiu-jitsu. Like YouTube do not understand triangle combined with guard.
Yes.
You know, like you just connect someone with someone else.
There is no platform like that, right?
No, there's no. Yeah, and it'd be like, of course, it's really complex to build, but that's one idea. And like you can to organize yourself. I use GTD methodology. I don't know if you heard.
No.
Like everything, like if you go, like GTD is get things done. So basically everything is stuff. So, and then everything, like I see, if I go to train, if I record a video, I just record the video. So I don't care about categorizing it.
Sure.
But back then, when I come back home, I have like to create like my own structure. I do the same as in Instagram. So if I save, I have some folders that I save.
You categorize.
And if it's guard, I save it's guard. I categorize all of them.
Okay.
And I try, and like training. So it's the one that I would try to train, drilling, and I start to organize it internal. It's for me, right? So, and I have a Evernote, like I keep posting there, like the way I can retrieve later on. Like I can just go there and say, okay, now let's see. I mean, I need to train something. So I go there.
Yeah.
Even my photo album here. So I just go there, jiu-jitsu. But jiu-jitsu, I cannot like jiu-jitsu and tag. So I put jiu-jitsu guard, jiu-jitsu.
What a guy.
I keep creating this kind of structure. You know,
bro,
it helps.
Your Instagram sounds like a gold mine. Somebody needs to hack your account. Listen.
That's simple, right?
Crazy because I'm telling you, if I'm training jiu-jitsu, I roll with a guy and then I get stuck. Every time I get in half guard, I get smashed, right? Every time I get in half guard, I get smashed. If I can open my phone and just be like, this position, the fuck do I do? And get something, oh, magic, man, fucking fireworks. This would be like the next level of jiu-jitsu.
Yeah, no, this was Aprenda Jiu-Jitsu, by the way. Like, because you could go there.
Wow.
Imagine a menu that you could say, I say guard,
okay,
half guard. But in half guard, you can say on top or on the bottom. And you say like half guard on top. And you see like many techniques, half guard on top. So if I want to play like half guard in the bottom, so half guard, half guard, bottom. So you see like many classes on the bottom.
I would kill for
and
this.
And then of course, like, yeah, and then you could like go there and say like, okay, I want to see this technique. And then, if you say like mount position, so you go mount, but you have mount, but you have which kind of situation you are looking for. Mount on top or mount on the bottom, because if you're mount on top, so it's one kind of technique, but if you mount on the bottom, so it's a different approach, right? So you are trying to defend yourself. But I believe like nowadays the online platform, they are trying to get something close to it, because actually again, it's not new. It's just like you get the data, so you have the data. Like I have many Instagram, but you just need to connect them somehow. For example, I have like one Instagram account that I follow, like leg lockers. So it's a good one. Like, let's say if I want to try to study leg lock, I just go there, like leg lockers, and I see because they are just posting leg locks, right? So, okay, I can have like lapel lovers. So just go there and like just try to follow one of this account that they just post the game, you know, like that you are interested in.
But you know, Diego, the problem here is the user experience. The idea, this is something I've got into app technology businesses before. I used to have a motorcycle custom shop. I'm a natural entrepreneur. And if there's one thing I learned is ideas are a dime a dozen. You know, there's some people you talk to them and they're like, I have an idea, but I need you to sign a non-disclosure agreement and I don't want to tell you my idea. It's like, shove your idea up your ass because it means nothing. The idea is nothing. The execution is everything. And the user experience is everything. Two guys can have the same idea, like what you're saying. One guy will create a Frankenstein disgusting platform that nobody will ever use. And one guy will create a platform and it needs a black belt. It needs somebody who understands the shit out of jiu-jitsu to make something like this. It's not anybody that can do this.
Yeah, and but in the end, like, the platform just needs to work for you. You know, like that, because you don't need to wait for anyone to create. Because once you say like, okay, I want to create this idea. So you think that idea is just your idea. I'm going to tell you one story. Like I have one joke that I really like to do. It came like doing the training, doing the resenha. I say, you know what? Okay, from this way I can use my lapel, and then it's a really nice joke. And then I end up getting this joke. And it's like, wow, I invented a position in jiu-jitsu. I was pretty happy. I said like, oh, now my friends knew how to use this joke, and wow, I invented a technique. I was so happy. And then like Renzo Grace opened his platform, and I went there. I was watching some videos, and I saw Half Grace teaching the technique that I say like, I invented the technique.
I love it.
Using like,
yes.
Oh man, because like we have a lot of people thinking as well, like, because they are getting the same situation that you are, and they also try to create something from there, you know, like try to escape from there. And I remember also a post in Aprenda Jiu-Jitsu that I said, okay, I think I invented one technique, and then I posted. And then one guy said, like, I believe that you invented the technique, but I already used this technique. And then he posted like one post, but it was a really interesting chat because he was like Felipe Costa, his name,
Right.
and he said like that's the beauty of jiu-jitsu, and I said yeah, that it is, because I didn't, I have never seen that technique before, like, and then jiu-jitsu create by itself, like we are just go there trying to get the resenha, and then you learn, and then you go from there. So the idea, as you said, like, and I agree totally. Idea is nothing. Execution is everything.
Execution
so
is
I have
everything.
an idea in my mind. Can you use this idea? No, you can't. So it means nothing. But as long as you do one step, let's say you save your video in the folder that you can retrieve. So okay, you are one step ahead than me. I have a nice idea, but you organize your video in a way that you understand.
Yeah,
so that's awesome. So your system is better than mine.
Exactly. That's the beauty of technology, and I think a lot of people misunderstand this, is that it's not just the idea, and there's everybody, like, if you're thinking of something, somebody around the world is thinking the same thing. It's how you do it. And a lot of people, when they think about others, that's when they screw up. When you sit down and you think of somebody you don't know their background, their lifestyle, how they grew up, what they like, what they don't like, and you create something for them, it's going to be disgusting. You just think of yourself. You just think of me, Zaid, what works for me. And if it works for me, the chances are it'll work for somebody else. And I love that. That's such a good principle. And that applies to jiu-jitsu too, right?
Yeah, of course.
Find what works for
because
you.
But that's the, like, if it works for me, so I can teach what I use.
Yes.
If it works for you, use it. If it doesn't work for you, let it go. But for me, it works. But I cannot teach you something that I can't teach you. But I say, like, it's different when the way you master your game is different than you just, okay, are you going to teach you lapel?
Yeah.
I know some techniques of lapel, but someone who does lapel every single day, and he knows much more than someone who doesn't, like, and then we later on are going to evolve so much that technique that's going to be like, okay, it's for you. And then you can just, if anybody else like it, so you like it, follow your path, you go to your own game, like create your own game, and then you see, like, later on you change. Like, my game changed a lot. Like, from the beginning I played spider guard,
right,
and then spider guard was easy, but then they start to kill spider guard, so I had to change. So, and then we evolve, you know what I mean? Like, the jiu-jitsu evolving, you have to evolve together, and then your body type change, so your energy, like, change, your flexibility change, so eventually you change your game accordingly. Like, but in the end, it's like do what works for you, and then eventually what works for you, you work with somebody else.
Yes. And then that's the key thing. It's like being a doctor. If you just study medicine, you graduate, and then you never open another medical book, then you will not be that great of a doctor. And I think jiu-jitsu is the same, regardless, blue, purple, brown, or even black. If you get your black belt and then you just stop training, that's useless. You have to stay on the mats. You have to keep learning and seeing how it's changing so that you can adapt your game. And eventually, the things that you relied on to succeed will no longer succeed anymore. And if you're not adapting, then the black belt 5 years ago is maybe a purple belt now if he didn't keep training. You know what I mean?
Yes, of course. Like, there are two things that in jiu-jitsu that's really interesting. Once is, like, if you stop training, of course, like, your technique will be obsolete.
Yes.
But if nobody's using the old technique, so let's say now you play, not everybody plays half guard, everybody plays berimbolo, everybody single X, like, but nobody plays, let's say,
close guard,
half guard. So close guard. So, okay, nobody plays close guard, so we are not preparing for the close guard. And eventually, if you fight someone who plays close guard, you say, like, I don't know how to escape.
Love it.
It's really hard to escape because nobody does it.
Yes.
So jiu-jitsu can reinvent itself, like, because nobody's play. You start to kill, like, butterfly guard, and until Marcelo Garcia come in, sweep everyone. But so they are using it.
That's so true.
We change. Like, depends of the body type, depends of the many aspects. But we need to keep active, at least to understand, because otherwise we do not know what is hitting you. Because I feel like eventually you get like 50-50 positions. Say, how do I escape? Like, if you do not know, like, if you quit jiu-jitsu 5 years ago and then you come back now, so you do not know how to do 50-50.
Absolutely.
Because it's quite new.
And you're like a white belt at it.
In that technique, that situation you are, because we didn't study. It's not because you are worse black belt. No. That point, jiu-jitsu evolved so much that we need to keep studying. Like, keep going, like warm guard, like lapel guard. So if you do not know how to, at least you need to know, like, to block, or at least to survive. Let's say If of course you face Keenan Cornelius, you're gonna use upper guard, you're gonna kill everyone because he mastered the upper guard in a way that it's amazing. But at least you need to know how to prevent and how it works, like, because otherwise. But that's jiu-jitsu evolving. Like we start with berimbolo. No one could kill berimbolo until they start to figure out how to kill the berimbolo. Now it's even. You can get the back, but you can also defend. And even you discover that if the guy tries to take your back, you can take their back. So it's quite like interesting situation.
Even the referees are killing berimbolo now. You can't put the hands in the pants.
Yeah, they try to kill a part of jiu-jitsu, but that's life, that's the thing, But coming back one step back to the technology, I think people really said like, I want to fix somebody else's problem. That's also maybe a good reason, but on top of that, people are trying to create softwares more than solve problems. And I think that's the key point. So before you create the software, you should understand the problem and should understand what's the reason you are creating the software. So why am I creating this module? Why am I creating this podcast? Why am I creating this website? Why am I creating this? Because once you figure out what's the reason, so we can see if you are going to the right path or the wrong path.
True.
And you can easily track, okay, I'm doing this. Let's say I'm using my Instagram to organize my videos. Okay, is it working? So I can take the benefit of this. Okay, maybe I can have an app that could do it better. But at the first point, I have to try myself. Up to the point to understand how painful it would be to track, and if it worked. Eventually say like, it's going to be so painful. So to track all this information, to organize them together, so let it go. And eventually you won't use. But if you start to use and figure out the best way for you, you said like journaling is really hard. Maybe you can try mind mapping. So
that's what I've been doing.
Works for you. And and maybe mind mapping will be big. And then you can have like one mind mapping for lapel guard, mind mapping, one mind mapping for leg locks, one mind mapping for whatever.
Absolutely.
And then you create like small mind maps that's gonna solve your problem, because the problem is it's too big. So you break into pieces. So now you have small chunks, and then you're gonna create and gonna grow big as
I like how that ties in.
And it also like the solutions there, and then you also can figure out like you can take like if it grows too big, let's say leg locks.
Got you.
You can say like just defense, just counters, just attacks, and whatever. And then you grow, and you see like if you have to fork, you have to pivot, whatever needs to be done.
I like what you're saying about this. And just for everybody listening that's wondering what is mind mapping. Mind mapping, if you Google it, is there's a software application on the phone, on the desktop. It's basically a tree. You start off with the base. Let's say the center is guard. And then you put attacks on the right, defenses on the left. And then from attacks, what options you have, defenses, what options you have. And then you start connecting. The defenses transition into an attack. And then you connect what attacks transition from what defenses. But this is where, Diego, this is where it gets messy for me. If you see my mind map, you'll throw up. Because it started beautifully. Nice, clean attack, defense, and I don't know what. And then once I started linking things of the possibilities, it looks just like a spaghetti. It looks like pasta. It doesn't look like a mind map anymore.
Yeah. So because actually the mind mapping, it needs to make sense. Somehow, eventually we need to rearrange. Because if you start getting linking, but it's a mess. Right. But the question is, can you find what you're looking for? Because the mind mapping can be a mess. That's the point. But eventually you say like, okay, I go to the main branch or the center, and I go to the main branch, and I go until I reach the point. I have a arrow anchor to some different node, but you reach the point. So if you reach the point, your system is working. So if it's not there, if you're not getting what you are looking for, so then you need just to have a look at that. Like, okay, why am I missing here? So maybe I'm overcomplicating. I got you. And then you go one step back and reorganize again, because there is no right or wrong answer. That the answer is like what works for you. So this way, can you figure out? Can you find what you're looking for? So that's also point. So you can't. So okay, let's try to do something else.
But that's the thing.
Mind mapping works.
It does work. It does work, but it works for me. If I was to bring you to look at my mind map, you're probably like, this guy's on drugs. That's the problem. Like, in order to make a mind map or an app that works for others, it requires so much refinement, which is why the idea is anybody can think of this, right? But the execution, this is key. And I think if we can get to a point, who has an encyclopedia of everything in jiu-jitsu today? Nobody. There's no or YouTube, like you said, you can type them and you will find them. But to link them in one place, to search them, connect them, doesn't exist. That would take things to a new level. Every academy would have access to this. You would pay for that as an academy to have the full jiu-jitsu, you know, to teach people. Students would want to get that. It's an incredible path.
Yeah. We have like back then we have one partner at Aprenda Jiu-Jitsu that's really nice website, BJJ Heroes. So they do amazing job. Like they have like the history of each one, like the players, you know, you can see the history, and they have like, even the skull. So they can see how many fights, they can see like, I don't know how they are doing nowadays, but I remember like everything. And the way they write is really, really interesting. They write like professionally and really cool platform. But then like, that's one break, you know, like, but it's not, I don't believe that we're going to have everything in one place, because if everything is there in one place, I think it loses its efficiency, because it's so complex. Let's say if you create a mind map, so in the beginning it's so easy, right? So but as long as you start to put everything you know inside, you start to get a mess. So it starts to be so complex, so overwhelming, that you say like, you know what, I won't use it anymore. You know, like, and I think because if you have like, we need to have the answer. That we cannot figure out, like, we cannot solve. If we are trying to solve all the problems, we will end up solving any problem. You know, like we have to like, okay, what's the purpose of this? So this is, I want to, I don't know, do X, Y, Z, and that's it. And for the other one, and eventually it's growing big, but I don't believe, because someone else, you know, is going to create something in between that they will be faster than you in that particular area. You know, like why Instagram grows so fast? They start to do a different, it was Facebook before, it was a must. So then you have Instagram, because the people start to get like, I need a different way to use my social media. So they start to get it simple. So in Facebook, we have videos, we have posts, we have many things. So Instagram, you have just, back then was just photos. Right? So they just make the photos easier to be posted. After that, they posted videos. Then we have Snapchat. So they tried to buy Snapchat, and then they couldn't. So now have TikTok. So they're coming with video, different approach, different platforms, you know, like different style. So they cannot stop TikTok to grow fast. They can try to create something that
but that's
similar to TikTok, but they will keep growing, because
that's the beauty of competition. Like what you're saying is the whole concept of an open capitalistic market. Like having competition forces the products to get refined naturally. If you don't get refined, you know, the survival of the fittest. That's why, like, I like the idea of at least somebody putting a foot forward in this realm, and it will lead to either them having to keep it updating or somebody to come up with the idea. I believe, like, eventually technology will spill into jiu-jitsu, and I can't wait to see what that looks like.
Yeah, and then definitely, like, we're gonna have, for sure, like, many technologies, and even games, even ways, methodologies. Because if you see, like, if you go to many academies, they do not have even the system that controls the workflow, not workflow, the money flow. So they do not control their own business.
Their accounting,
That, okay, if you start to use a system in the accounting, that they will be like grateful for the whole environment. You know, like they start to use system that controls the students' attendance. So that's also cool. But we have like many other stuff that it go deeper. Like they will even maybe a way that you say, like, you have a problem. The people do not understand jiu-jitsu. We have also problem in the English that the people do not understand English, right? So they start to create, we have many apps that say like the ball and bump the ball like kids, like, bump the ball is A. So let's say you have an app that's teach jiu-jitsu to rules of jiu-jitsu, like just by the actions or quizzes that's interesting the people. Like say, okay, if I do this situation, let's see Alexandre, like if Alexandre is listening here, maybe it's a solution for him.
Nice.
So you have the record the video, and then have the solution that people can go from there and like try to see, okay, is it as he does in the quiz,
yes,
in his
how many points and what
stories. So how many points? So they start to learn jiu-jitsu from there. You know,
absolutely,
it's a kind of game changer because they can now they need this. But let's say it's an app that you're gonna by itself like generate some classes and then it just press the
that's
button.
cool.
So we are just like thinking here, like brainstorming, and see like how many ideas we can come up with, you know, like just based on the necessity, like what's the problem, what's the point, you know, like if I have a point to organize my classes, so I have to think in a way. So if I want to learn how to teach jiu-jitsu, it's a different approach. Maybe you can have like approaches to teach kids. Let's say I want to teach kids and I have a whole entire platform that want to help me to understand how kids works,
right?
Because teach kids is quite complex. So you should like learn like how kids understand and then you apply your jiu-jitsu knowledge. So it's like a game changer. But we can also have an app that say, I will track all my opponents. So every time he got swept, I want to save, I press the button, and then I see like how many sweeps he got or points or whatever. I want to watch all their videos. So now I just watch the videos. But let's say I create an Excel sheet that I want to just count how many points they have, or even the app, like, and then I'm going to start to track. And then maybe I'm going to find the flaws, right? So let's say every now and then he got swept. Or which position? It was 50-50. Okay, so eventually he got swept in 50-50. So you can like, keep tracking the data until they get like a bunch of data that can give you some information.
Brother,
like, okay, like
I hear you. I have a question for you. How do you sleep?
Actually, I have a problem sleeping.
How the fuck do you sleep? Your brain, like I'm sweating, trying to keep up with your thoughts. Like you're thinking 100 thoughts at the same time. It's insane. No wonder you're the way you are. That's crazy.
No, actually, like I speak so fast. I speak too much, and my brain is like.
I can see it's cardio. That's fucking amazing.
And I'd love like to have like many ideas because eventually like eventually one of those ideas will end up as something weird, you know, like, but keep your brain like creative. These are just examples that if you think a little bit about how we can make the jiu-jitsu community better, so I'm sure that we're gonna figure out a way, as you did, like you found the podcast, and if someone else is thinking how can by his experience or her experience enrich the jiu-jitsu environment for the jiu-jitsu community somehow. So maybe they will come up with some new solutions that you're gonna benefit us, you know, like. And then we end up like with technology because technology nowadays is cheap, so anyone can go and do. Let's say I'm doing a seminar, so I just can open Zoom and do a seminar, right? So it's easy.
Everybody's learning that.
Before it was quite complex. So now everyone's doing like, you don't even open Zoom. I can just open live on Instagram and I can do a seminar. So the technology is there. Like now, how can I benefit myself with this technology? How can I create some content that it's important to someone else? You know, like it was important for me. I would like to share it with somebody else that could have the same problem or the same, when I say problem, like the same pain that I had. You know, like I can somehow give you a shortcut. And technology comes handy to help this.
Sure. I like that, man. I like the message that you have about, honestly, like from everything that we talked about today, we got into so many different interesting angles. And I feel like without overwhelming the listener, I think if you listen to the single line, the linear line between everything you said, it is taking something large, breaking it into parts, and finding a way to solve each part until you solve the big problem. And that big problem doesn't seem big anymore. The key of all of this is to find what is the problem for you. You know, I mean, like finding in jiu-jitsu, in technology, in business, in life and work, it's find the solutions that work for you. Stop thinking about everybody else and then breaking it down into small pieces and attacking them. Getting good at each piece, putting them together, creating your own little mind map, creating your own little solution, and then everything falls into place. Right?
Exactly. Yeah. Perfect summarizes everything. Yeah, because exactly like I thought. Like, just follow these steps. I think you're good.
Yeah, man. No, I love the message that you say. And listen, that's the thing. I have so many ideas moving forward, and especially once this corona pandemic is over, I want to do a proper studio where I have the guests come in, because this obviously avoids a lot of the lag delay issues, but it also opens up the potential for a lot of interesting content. I think sitting together at some times when there's like a IBJJF or a UAEJJF tournament and breaking down a fight together into these techniques, because your brain obviously runs at 100 miles an hour. So if we can take that brain and focus it on the fight, I think that could be epic for people, just to get into the mind of a black belt and a programmer and see how they dissect the fight. I think that could be really cool. People would be excited about that.
Yeah, cool. Why not? Yes.
Awesome,
amazing.
Brother. Awesome, man. But listen, I really appreciate your time. I don't get a chance to talk to you, to the other guys this much, right? Resenia is cool, but it's not this much. And I appreciate so much the time that you give, because it makes me feel like I know you better. It makes everybody feel like they know you better. And I look forward to training with you now, because now there's even more to it. Jiu-Jitsu is not just about the grips and stuff. Like I see on the chat on YouTube, Faisal Al-Utaibi, he's saying, I like how your podcast show that BJJ is not just physical sport, it's also the mental, right? And that's the message. Once you get to know people better, your jiu-jitsu improves. Once you get to learn from you and other black belts, your jiu-jitsu improves, not just in the physical and the mental.
Yeah, actually, like jiu-jitsu, we have like someone that they say like we cannot teach a heart, right? So we can teach techniques, but it's more here. It's mental.
Yes.
Like it's a game. Each piece that we play, it's like a kind of chess, but with your body, and it's interesting because that's exactly what jiu-jitsu is. And today you can play like really badly, and tomorrow you can come and a different game plan and learn and overcome. So in many situations in jiu-jitsu game, you can transfer to your own life and benefit. That's why jiu-jitsu help us in our personal life, like because
100%.
you have bad situation every day. So in jiu-jitsu as well. So you have sometimes like winnings in that jiu-jitsu in your life as well. Like everything happens there, it happens also in your entire life.
Yes.
And in jiu-jitsu, like it's so mind-free, because if you're thinking something else once you're training jiu-jitsu, so you're gonna be beaten. Like they're gonna kick your ass because you cannot like think in something else. You have to be focused on what you're doing.
You have to be in the present.
If you have a problem, the problem has to be outside the mat, because if you come inside the mat, so we're gonna have two problems. The problem before and the problem in the mat.
I like that. I like that. That's so true.
It's better to keep them outside, and like keep them off mat, and then you come there and have fun, and then take it back.
100%.
But yeah, that jiu-jitsu is much more, not much more mental, but it's really mental, and it's more sport, intelligent sport.
Yes.
You need to not just use physical. You can benefit. You cannot take the physical part apart, because if I'm really technical, but I have no power to hold your strength of power,
of course,
I cannot stop you. Even being more technical than you, it's like a balance of that. But of course, like much of the part is technical.
Of course, man. No, I mean, everything you said is just so valuable for people listening. I hope people enjoy this and actually get a chance to listen to what you're saying and apply it to their own lives, because I think it could take them very far. Man, I appreciate you spending this time. Thank you so much for hanging out with us here on the podcast.
Thanks so much for having me. I really enjoyed the time too.
My brother, me too. I know we took a lot of your time, but it was well worth it, honestly. I feel like I went to university for a day in jiu-jitsu.